always said that if you cooked a human, as long as it tastes good, and I would try it.
That was my argument during the time where everyone was like freaking out about McDonald's chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
I was like, who gives a shit what it is? Is it good? Yes. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Like unless
sure, it's probably
like,
destroying me from the inside out, but you know.
Everything I love destroys me from the inside out.
Nothing says love like death.
This is Twin Stick Radio, episode 52, I think, for the week of January 15th, 2019. I am one of your hosts, Trey Higgins, and I'm joined by Chris Rodriguez.
Hello.
And Justin T. Lopez.
I'm back.
Yeah, we snapped him back into existence.
Yay.
Yeah, we were able to wrangle the gauntlet off, take off the green stone, and Trey, twisted its nipple, and now Justin's back.
We're in the end game
My
now.
signature move.
The nipple twister.
Speaking
the
of
green
which,
gym nipple twister.
Did y'all see the Far From Home trailer?
I did see the
Yeah, I
Far
did
From
see
Home
it,
trailer.
actually.
Thoughts?
I
Awesome. Good stuff.
yeah.
You know, one of my New Year's resolutions in this podcast was trying to come off as more positive about stuff. And it's not that I think it's going to be bad or anything. Just my first impression when I saw the trailer was, seems like they're trying to put a lot of stuff in this movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But someone in the comments, light spoilers for the Spider-Man trailer. Someone in the comments pointed out that those elemental dudes, because my first thought was Sandman and Hydro Man.
Oh, yeah.
Someone pointed out that they think that those things are illusions and Mysterio is trying to make himself look like a hero.
Sure, yeah,
I agree
that
with
makes
that.
sense.
And
yeah.
that they're not actual things. And if that's the case, then I feel like this movie is a little bit more straightforward than it looks in
Sure,
the
yeah.
trailer.
Yeah.
I think something Marvel does really, really well is they give away the first 30 minutes of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't. That's not the entirety of Spider-Man. The Endgame trailer, if you've watched it, I agree. That's probably the first 20 minutes of the movie.
If that.
If
yeah.
that, yeah, Tony in space, and then the video feed of Paul Rudd, that's 20 minutes in.
Well, and that's the thing. Marvel does a really good job at not spoiling their movies, so much so that, Infinity War, for example.
Sure, exactly.
The trailers for that, they show the Hulk full form running through the jungle of Wakanda.
Yeah.
Spoiler for Infinity War, the Hulk never goes the Hulk.
It's very true.
To be fair, those Infinity War trailers showed nothing.
Yeah,
They,
which is good.
Which
is great.
perfect.
No, that is not a complaint. I'm just saying that there was no semblance of plot in any of those
yeah.
trailers.
Or even editing out the stones that, you never knew which stones
what he had.
Thanos
yeah,
had. Yeah,
sure, yeah.
he only had 2, I think, in the trailer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, cool stuff like that. But
Right,
yeah, I liked Far From Home.
And
I thought it
having
looked neat.
well, I don't know. Here's the thing with Spider-Man.
Love it.
And it has nothing to do with my disdain for Peter Parker Spider-Man, but the way I think they did a really good job with Spider-Man in Infinity War. I haven't seen Homecoming yet, but I know Stark is in it. I don't think they're doing a good job of intertwining Spider-Man into this overarching Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Mm-hmm.
It still really feels like he's off in Spider-Man land,
Right.
doing his own thing, and every once in a while there's a cameo, but it doesn't really, tie into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is why I really like Spider-Man in Infinity War and Civil War, because it just worked, right? He was the cameo that made it work. But having his own thing, it really feels like he's distant from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I like them doing that, because if they do it with Spider-Man, if and when they start doing X-Men, I'm afraid they're going to do that with the X-Men too.
I think the reason that they do that with Spider-Man is because, at least at this point in his cinematic story, most of his he's still very much that friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. So most of his villains aren't Thanos or Loki.
Sure, but so are they going to wait 10 years before they really bring Spider-Man into the mix?
I don't think so, but I think because he was introduced at near the end of such this mega super arc.
Sure,
it's kind of hard to be well, let's bring all the Avengers into a Spider-Man movie. It's they're dealing with bigger things than Vulture.
To be fair, though, like that sort of Spider-Man that's somewhat distant and only used by the Avengers when it's necessary is kind of true to the comics. Like even in modern comics, I think there was a time where Spider-Man was very much on every team and suddenly this big leader type. But for the majority of Spider-Man's existence as a comic book character, he's sort of been ancillary to the Avengers. He didn't even get on an Avengers team until like 2012.
Sure.
Not to say that the movies and the comics are the same thing.
No, but
I'm kind of excited though because I feel like the direction that they could take it is like, hopefully this is maybe one of 3 Spider-Man movies where he's in high school, and then after that you start having a grown-up Spider-Man, and by that time you have this new Avengers team that's forming, and
maybe
all that, and he can sort of step up to that role, and it'll feel natural as a kid growing up, not necessarily throwing a 16-year-old.
And that would be fine, but like the difference between the comics, like in the comics, the Avengers used Spider-Man because they needed him. In the movie, Spider-Man just shows up and gets wrapped into shit. He's never called on,
except Civil War.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. I think who called him? Cap called him. Tony called him. Yeah, that's right.
And it's an interest.
But that was a more down to earth story. Well, nobody called him for Infinity War. He just showed up.
Yeah, he just showed up.
Yeah,
it's interesting though
it was
because
in New York,
and I was told to go home.
Well, because with Homecoming, the sort of thing that you're dealing with the Spider-Man, the way that this Peter Parker is different than other Peter Parkers is he's extremely arrogant. Mm-hmm. Like his fatal flaw is arrogance, which is never been a huge problem directly for Spider-Man.
No, but it's there.
So I think that like his story arc right now in Infinity War and then probably in Far From Home and for the foreseeable future is him sort of managing that, because that was a big plot point in Homecoming.
Mm-hmm. Also, where's Far From Home take place in the timeline? I would assume before Infinity War.
After.
Everything I've read is saying that it's after Endgame. And spoilers for anyone who might not know this. Apparently, the actress who plays Aunt May, apparently she leaked or spoiled something in an interview that said that this movie takes place minutes after Endgame. So, yeah, I have no idea.
Hey, I'm back alive. Okay, now I'm going to Europe.
Well, I mean,
it depends on how Endgame ends.
But I mean, I can tell you how Endgame ends. It's not fucking rocket science how Endgame ends.
Right, everybody comes back.
Yeah, it's Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange gets the Agmarantha stone. He gets the time fucking stone.
There you go.
Doctor Strange gets the time stone, fucking rolls back time to where everything was before the way it was, and they defeat Thanos.
I like how your roll was a D20 roll.
Yeah. It's not hard to figure out how the fuck Endgame's gonna end.
I mean, I'm assuming that's how it's going to end, but
you
surely
can assume.
there's going to be like a satisfying end to it.
Of course there's going to be a satisfying end, but the end is going to be satisfying because of what happens in the middle.
But I wouldn't want it to just be like, okay, Endgame's over.
But that's exactly
time for my field trip.
But that's exactly what's going to happen because it's a comic book.
Yeah. And also that's the trap that you run into when you kill Spider-Man and Black Panther, the 2 most important heroes they've created in the last 5 years.
Right. Social characters.
I just mean in terms of sales for movies.
Sure. Yeah.
As individual movies go, Homecoming and Black Panther did the best.
Yes. That's what I mean. Like as far as Marvel Cinematic Universe, Spider-Man and Black Panther aren't that important.
Yeah.
T'Challa to an extent because of Wakanda, but not like.
But not. I mean, he hasn't been relevant.
But they did. Okay. But they did. Let's say the Infinity Gauntlet's still a thing, right? Literally the only person that could destroy Thanos in Strange is dead. They did kill the most important person in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or the most powerful. They literally killed the most important person.
Yeah.
And so the only way this is ever going to happen is whatever Strange. So I watched Infinity War fairly recently.
Yeah.
And Strange goes up right before the happens. Strange tells Tony, we're in the end game. Mm-hmm. And Tony's like, Strange is doing his like, I think he said like 1 million something futures.
It was like 14 million, and only one of them
one of them they succeeded. So I guarantee you, Strange is powerful enough and manipulated the world enough to where they're going down the one path.
Yeah.
I guarantee it.
Well, and
so everybody's going to come back, and Strange knows it,
especially because before they even get to Titan, right?
Yeah.
Before they get to Titan. He says, like, if it comes down between saving you or the kid and the stone, I'm going to take the stone.
Oh, of course.
But then he just hands it over. Surely that's what puts you on the road to the one.
Because he saw the one thing, exactly. The decimation had to happen for them to be able to whatever the outcome is. And like I said, we know the outcome. The outcome is Strange getting the stone and rolling back time. That is the end. That is the final 15 minutes of Endgame. I guarantee it. But how they get there is going to be the most interesting parts.
Do you think Wolverine will make a cameo?
If they do X-Men, they have to do Charles and Eric. They can't. They don't lean on Wolverine. Just don't do it again.
All I know is Hugh Jackman on his Instagram, I think 5 days ago, posted a video of him working out at the gym, looking pretty good.
Maybe he's doing Greatest Entertainer Part 2.
Right, but why would you? But why would you hashtag it cameo?
This is the greatest show.
Sure.
He hashtagged his post cameo.
That's my issue with the X-Men movies in general. I understand how good Logan was, even though I haven't seen it. I get how good it is, but the problem is that they based every single one of those movies so solely on Hugh Jackman and Wolverine because of Hugh Jackman's popularity and because that the majority audience who don't read comics, who love the X-Men, love Wolverine. But most comic book nerds understand Wolverine sucks as a character. The most interesting characters in X-Men, at least in my opinion, the most interesting is Eric, because he's so conflicted about wanting freedom for mutants, doing the bad thing to do it, but not disappointing his best friend for fucking 90 years in Charles. They're still like... And the point where Eric and Charles are fucking fighting each other, they're still best friends.
For those of you that are not comic book nerds,
Eric
it's Magneto.
Yeah, sorry.
So I don't know a whole lot about X-Men comics, but is he a Holocaust survivor in comics too?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, he survived the Holocaust and everything.
They're starting to run into an issue though, because at this point, it's almost 100 years ago when the Holocaust happened.
Yeah.
So you have like this fucking ancient Magneto that everyone has to pretend like he's 60.
Yep. Anyway, but yes,
magnets slow your age down.
I see it being a thing in like 20 or 30 years where either he's like frozen in a time capsule or he was like the son of someone that was in an internment camp.
Sure, something.
Like they're gonna have to make that change soon.
But that's the problem with at least the X-Men movies, is they relied so heavily on Wolverine and Hugh Jackman that every other really interesting character took such a side seat. Yeah. And now also, since in the comics, Iceman, I was about to say Bobby, but nobody's gonna know who the hell I'm talking about. Iceman came out as being gay. That's a really, really fucking just great. You know how we talk about it's like, oh, they just made him gay to be gay. They didn't do that with Iceman. You literally there was a whole arc of them. It's like, young Iceman comes back and he's the one that comes out, but old Iceman is still there, and young Iceman, literally, there's a conversation between young and old Iceman because of the time paradox thing going. He's like, so do we want to talk about this? And old Bobby's like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Really, just, I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Right.
And there's
deep in the closet.
Yeah, there's this arc where it's like, holy shit. And, Iceman goes back and starts thinking about all the things that he's done in his life. It's like, holy shit, Iceman's literally been gay this whole time. Well, and it's not just gay to be gay. It's really great.
But it's they can justify this passive Bobby who could never be in a stable relationship.
Sure.
But it's also just this, when young Bobby says to old Bobby, he's like, I'm not going to let you keep me in the closet.
Yeah.
So when I come out, I'm pulling you out of the closet with me.
Yeah.
So we can either face this now, or you can face it when everyone starts asking questions about why the young you is gay and the old you isn't.
It's just great. And that's the thing is, you have a character like that and a character like Magneto and Professor X, and they're just eternal frenemy struggle. And it's not frenemy, that's just a dumb term, but they're literally best friends. They are Trey and I. They are the bestest friends in the whole fucking world, but they have such a huge moral conundrum against each other that it leads them to fighting each other their entire lives. It's fucking crazy.
It's two different experiences of the same problem.
You're right.
It's pain versus love.
Exactly.
And how neither one of them can sort of see eye to eye on that because of how different their experiences are.
But instead, they concentrate on the guy that can make claws come out of his hands and he's really mad all the time.
And also who has the quintessential RPG character memory loss story.
It's whatever. If he makes a cameo, that's awesome because the X-Men are coming, but they can do better. Marvel has shown that they can do better than just Hugh Jackman. Here's the X-Men because here's Hugh Jackman. They can do better.
Also, if Hugh Jackman is working out now, unless they decide to film something kind of last minute, he's not in the movie.
Sure, yeah, I don't know. I was thinking that too, but
Yeah, because the movie comes out in what, 3 months, 4 months, April.
Endgame,
April,
yeah. And but then you have Captain Marvel coming out even
Well,
sooner.
he's not gonna be in Captain Marvel. Blockbusters in Captain Marvel. X-Force, yeah, X-Force would be awesome. Oh, maybe he'll make a cameo in that Mutants movie.
So
gosh, I'm so excited for fucking
it looks really New Mutants. Yeah, it looks really good.
There's your read between the panels segment.
Yeah,
seriously. Oh shit, we didn't even get to the video game podcast.
Yeah, if you guys haven't listened to us before, we are not a podcast about Marvel. We're a podcast about video games. We record weekly, and we are usually up on Wednesdays. We start the show with the same segment every single week. Justin,
Not a whole lot.
what are you playing?
Not a whole lot. I did play Red Dead.
Yeah.
Wow.
Why, how'd you know that?
Because
You saw? You synced it?
Yeah, there's a thing that's like, hey, Justin came on, and I went to see what you were playing, and it said Red Dead.
Yeah,
You're still never going to finish that game.
No.
Nope.
I just see this is why I don't like to bring it up because one day I just want to come in and just be like, yeah, I'm done. You know.
And that day, I will applaud you and buy you a Dr. Pepper.
You know, I had this friend
That's
in
fair.
high school who was like, this is very self-hating gay. And he said that the way he was going to come out to his parents was one day he was just going to bring his partner to Thanksgiving. And he would always describe it as like people are dropping forks and the forks are hitting their plates. And there's like a gasp from his grandma. I'm like, that is how you are the most gay person I know.
I was expecting
and
way.
you are
I was expecting way worse. I was like, I was going of, I'm gonna come out by literally fucking my boyfriend in the ass on the Thanksgiving Day table.
You know what? If he wasn't such a prude, that would probably be the next logical step.
Grandmother
but anyway,
is just gripping her
Yeah,
pearls
yeah.
like, oh my goodness.
my goodness. But yeah,
I don't
so
know. Just
that's
one
kind of how
day.
you view your finishing Red Dead.
Pretty much, yeah. I just want to come in and just be like, yeah, I'm done.
You
Yeah.
drop the mic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. Because I know I play games slowly, but that's just me.
Sure.
You know.
I are who I am.
I is who I want to be. You know. Yeah, but that's it, pretty much. Trey, what about you? What have you been playing?
I've been playing D&D prep. I have played a little bit of God of War. I'm going to finish it at some point. Also, since there's not a whole lot coming out until February.
Kingdom Hearts.
Kingdom Hearts comes out in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
next
'cause
week. No, 2 weeks.
Yeah, because I'm definitely going to be playing Kingdom Hearts Day
Yeah.
One.
Yep.
So yeah, this put me at a good time to be like, oh, let's go through God of War. Still a great game. Super good.
So the next game you're planning on getting is Anthem, I'm guessing?
Yeah. There's no way. I mean, I need something to fill that.
VIP demo
Whole
starts on the
Destiny left.
25th.
You in?
Oh hell yeah!
Nice.
And then VIP demo, then the actual demo is the next 3 days after that. So it's like 6 days of Anthem.
Are you allowed to... Can you record a demo?
Yes, I don't know exactly
Sure.
yet. I don't. I actually really don't.
That'd be
it's
cool if you
the-
could, and we could post that.
The
If it's
VIP
like the EA Access thing, you can record it.
No, it's not the EA Access thing. This is a month before the game actually comes out.
I bet they'll.
I,
if it's
I
an
would
open
assume they
beta,
did.
or
Well, no, not the VIP, but the open part. So the VIP is the 25th through the 27th.
how do you get
And
VIP?
then the open beta, the one where anybody can, is by pre-ordering.
Okay, then yes.
That should be open. And then the open one where anybody can play
That's-
is like the 29th or something else.
If we record it, we post it. Worst thing that happens is they take it down.
There was
Worst
a
thing that happens is we lose our EA accounts.
It's fine.
Jim Sterling did a really cool video where he did the 7 deadly sins, and he took one sin and then applied it to a different video game company, which is hard because
With all Activision. We're going to get there.
that was one of the things he said. He was like, the hard thing
Spoilers
about
for
this.
topic of the week.
He was like, the hard thing about this is that EA and Activision could basically be all of these.
Sure.
But I feel
They are
like
the 7
calling
deadly
something
sins.
a VIP. A VIP access when it's really just did you pre-order the game is one of those deadly sins.
Sure.
It's like, oh, you're a VIP, but if I pre-order the game tomorrow, I can also be a VIP.
Sure, yeah.
All
yeah.
right, there's no deadline to be a VIP.
There's not. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that requires putting $5 on the game or paying it all off on Amazon, one of those two.
Yeah.
Or
Whatever you
pre-ordering on Amazon, getting the code,
yeah.
canceling your pre-order, and not having paid a single cent.
Yep.
Pro tip,
Yep.
straight from Twin Stick Radio. Chris, what are you playing?
Star Wars The Old Republic. Because it's awesome. That's all.
That's fun.
Also, they
finished-
released a new storyline, didn't they?
They did. I haven't got there yet, though. I'm so far behind that I just finished. So they did Shadow of Revan. I'm sorry, they did Hutt Cartel, Shadow of Revan, Knights of the
Fallen Empire?
Fallen Empire. I just finished Knights of the Eternal Throne, and I'm on to what they're calling. It's like a little side thing about this. Basically the planet, or the Starforge and KOTOR creates all these things.
Yeah.
That is actually a machination of this planet called Ioketh, and it's like a machine planet that can consistently create armadas. It's what created the Eternal
So,
Empire.
so
as
they
well.
kind of did Starkiller Base.
Kind of.
It's like, here's the Death Star, the moon that can destroy everything.
Yeah,
but now here's
kind of.
Starkiller Base, and this is the planet that can destroy
Yeah, but
everything.
no, but the thing is everything's stemming from Iocath, where Starkiller Base was still just something the Empire made.
Yeah.
This is literally the thing.
Well, it's that quintessential Star Wars storyline where you take
There's
that
one
one
bit-
cool
yeah,
idea
exactly,
and,
and
you're like, let's just make that thing bigger.
Well, it's like, that's the thing is the one cool idea is like world ending, but our heroes saved it. So how can we make it worse? Oh, let's make an entire fleet.
Yeah.
Okay, well they just beat that too. How can we make it? Oh, let's make a planet.
Okay, but like,
that is this
So
thing.
next, it's
weird
going to be
question.
Galaxy. It's
Yeah,
just,
exactly.
it just-
is the Emperor the one that's like using whatever this base is?
Yeah, well, so the failsafe is whoever rules the throne of the Eternal Empire controls it all, and Valkorion, or his real name is Tenebrae. Spoilers for SWTOR. Is the Emperor, who is also Vitate, who is also all
Oh my
these
God,
other.
how many names is attached to this dude?
Well, that's the thing is like Vitate is the Emperor in the SWTOR storyline. The guy the Knight's going after, the guy that the counselor's trying to quell the disease. Emperor Vitate, who's killed, is just an extension of Valkorion, who is the Emperor of the Eternal Throne that nobody fucking knows about because they've been on the other side of the galaxy. But this guy is the true like Sith Emperor.
It sounds like Daenerys in like season 7, or
No,
it's like
I mean,
Queen of this.
There's this D&D thing spell called Simulacrum.
Sure, yes.
So it sounds like that first Emperor is
kinda
a
like,
simulacrum.
It's kind of like that, yeah. And so Valkorion is this thing. So you throughout this Eternal Empire and Eternal Throne, like Valkorion is this immortal being that nobody knows where he comes from, but you end up finding his most prized possession, his secret, is a holocron, and you activate the holocron, and his father shows up, and he starts calling him Tenebrae, and his father is a Sith pureblood, and they're talking about how old Valkorion actually is, or Tenebrae, and all this is his weakness and all this other stuff. So you end up beating Valkorion, and the conundrum is it's actually pretty clever. The conundrum is once the ruler of the Eternal Throne is killed, there's nobody there to control the Iocath or the Eternal Fleet, so they just start bombarding everything. Empire, Republic, whatever it is, the Eternal Fleet's just going to their default thing, which is extermination. So you as a player character have to take the throne. So now you as a player character in SWTOR are basically the emperor of the entire galaxy. If you're a Jedi, they rule it off as a little bit more of like, okay, well, I'm going to create this diplomatic thing to rule the entire galaxy. And
I'm going to make a council to sit on the
Well,
throne.
that's exactly what it is. They call it the Galactic Alliance. If you're Sith, it's like, I am the true emperor type stuff, and I'm past that now. Now the whole thing is Iocath also has a super weapon on it. Now the Republic and Empire are fighting to get to it. We're back to Republic versus Empire. So we're on Iocath trying to keep the super weapon out of somebody's hands. And then after that, I can start playing the Jedi one, which is on Ossus.
It's all super cool. I will say I don't like the MMO thing of your character is the most important character, but every character
so is
equally
so is the other million people playing.
all
this
that's
game,
really cool.
sure.
I would have liked it if it was. I think I would have if it had been like your job is to get this other character in the throne or to form this council you're not a part of. I think I would have liked that. I would have been like, I'm sold.
Yeah,
You're in a cutscene, you're talking to this person, it's like you're the most important person ever. A cutscene ends, you walk away, and there's like 20 other people lined up to talk to that
exactly
same
what it is.
person.
Because it's sort of like this idea that I have with fucking Destiny, where it's like Cade's dead. Who's going to be the Hunter Vanguard? My Hunter. Out of literally everyone there, the way that you build my Hunter up is the most important motherfucker in the goddamn tower.
But don't say who it actually is because I don't think Everett's there yet.
I'm not going to say who it is. I don't even
know who's supposed to be the new Hunter Vanguard?
What's his butt? Raven. Lord. Edgelord.
Yes. Okay, he's there. Okay, never mind.
Is he actually there now?
650.
No. I'm saying, have you seen that cutscene yet? Okay, yeah, he's there.
Oh, but he's not like in the tower as the Hunter
No,
Vanguard.
not yet.
Okay. But anyway, like
That's probably
realistically,
that's probably going to be Joker's Wilder Penumbra when he comes back.
probably. But if you look at it realistically, the person that should be in that spot should be
Sure,
my Hunter.
100%.
My Hunter is literally the most important Hunter in the tower, according to everybody.
I agree.
Right. You've only saved everyone, like,
Yep.
countless times.
You were literally the one Guardian that got back his light in the entire Red War. The one.
Also, I fucking killed Callus. I fucking killed.
You killed Riven.
I killed the Taken King.
Yeah, sure. You killed Oryx. You killed Riven. You literally killed the last Ahamkara / Taken God. And yeah, Yeah.
So it should be me. But, I can respect them for not doing the MMO thing where every hunter is a fucking hunter vanguard.
But that's that's what WoW does great. Is WoW, you are just a hero of the Alliance. You aren't Anduin or you're not Sylvanas. Those are the main characters. And if it was Destiny, you would be playing Anduin, and on the other side, somebody would be playing Sylvanas. But you're just a hero of that, which is why I'm actually really excited for Anthem, because it very much seems like you're just a mercenary going through this world. Yeah. You're not the main character, which is great.
Well, it's one of those things. I was, not to talk about D&D for a second week in a row, but that was one of those things that I was reading about. Someone had asked a question a couple weeks ago, like, so, there's this open spot as this ruler of the city, and one of my players really, really wants it. What do I do? And one of the people was like, well, here's what I would do. I was like, were you planning to put this person in this spot? And the DM was like, no. And I was like, okay, well, now that I know that, if the person takes that spot, then they need to roll a new character.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's not you taking away their agency, but if you want to be the ruler of a kingdom, you have to rule the kingdom.
Sure.
You can't just say, I'm the ruler of the kingdom. Okay, now I'm going to go into the Underdark and, kill a god.
Yeah.
Because that's not what a ruler does.
Sure. It's the same thing with Arkan. If I were to become a devil before level 20, I would have rolled a whole new character in.
Yeah. And I don't like it when MMOs break that conceit.
Sure.
Anyway,
Star Wars. That's what I've been playing.
Yeah,
it's
all
good.
that to
It's
say,
good.
Star
Like,
Wars.
I really love that game. I miss rotation combat systems in MMOs because a lot of them are going away from that. They're all going to the real time. Like if you dodge, blah blah blah, Guild Wars type stuff. But I really like the stand still, move out of the red spots, stand still, and nail your rotation for like maximum DPS. I love that gameplay in MMOs. But yeah.
I didn't do the news this week because I was busy, but Chris did the news. Chris, you want to do the news?
No. Number one.
Topic of the week.
1, 2, do a topic of the week. That'd be fun.
Goodbye, everybody.
There's only 4 things because it's the beginning of the year. There's not a lot going on. However,
They're pretty meaty things.
the things that have happened in the last week are pretty exciting. Number one, following a reported $488 million loss in the third quarter of 2018, GameStop's future looked very bleak. However, the company may be getting a helping hand come this February. According to the Wall Street Journal, Sycamore Partners and Apollo Global Management are currently vying over the video game retailer. Whether or not this will change GameStop's current way of doing business is currently unclear.
Surely it will change their...
You would hope it changes what they do. So I had this idea for GameStop when we worked there. And I think it's a very good idea for GameStop.
trademarked.
Sure.
Nobody steal this idea.
So GameStop turns into essentially what is an Apple store. Okay. You walk into a GameStop and there, instead of game cases, dirty, gross, unsanitary game cases and action figures and backpacks and hats and socks and toys lining the walls, it's just kiosks. And what those kiosks are there ways for people to go up and interact with videos or even demos of games that they can play. And that's how they also shop. So you go to this kiosk and you go here and you do this thing and it's like, oh, all I want to, for the person who's like, I just want to pick up Anthem when it comes out. I walk into GameStop, I go to the kiosk, I pick Anthem, physical, digital, choose to. If it's physical, it prints out a receipt. You go to the cashier's desk or the Genius bar, you pick up your copy of Anthem, you walk out of the door. Digital, prints out on your receipt, you walk out the door. You literally never have to talk to somebody unless you absolutely want to.
Right.
And that, to me, is how you get GameStop back on track for people to want to go there and shop. Because the thing, GameStop, the only like leg up that GameStop has is the name. Because if you were to ask anybody who has kids, it's like, hey, where do you go get your kids for your games? Oh, we go to GameStop. Grandma, where you go? Just go to GameStop. Pick it up at GameStop real quick. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Or like relatives. Like I still get
exactly.
I get GameStop gift cards all the time for Christmas because
exactly.
It's like I don't know, you like video games,
right? Exactly. So that's the only leg up GameStop has in this whole thing. And if they want to keep selling video games and not turn into some weird Spencer's Gifts, I personally think that's what they have to do. They need to get off this whole fucking like weird hot topic train where they have everything inside the store and it's like cluttered and you can't move around and you just have uninviting employees that you just don't want to interact with, and just GameStop's a cesspool of video games right now, and it sucks.
Well, there's a wall of video games, and then there's
but then there's the
other
actual
things.
people that work there. Sure.
Yeah, it's like ThinkGeek had a baby with GameStop, and that's what we have now.
Anyway, GameStop's being bought, which is, I think I said
4 years.
We have one of our predictions within 4 years. GameStop's going to change, and then boom, February, here it is.
Did you say change
Well,
or close?
I actually don't know if they're being bought, because neither of these companies seem to own these businesses. They just invest in them.
So they would invest in the stock, which is intentionally buying them.
Sure,
They would
but
get enough stock to where they would have.
They would have
majority.
I don't
control.
think it's the same as like when GameStop bought ThinkGeek, right?
No, it is not.
It's more like, here's extra capital to keep your business afloat, and the majority of your profits go back to us because we're
But
I think it's a sneaky kind of ownership.
Well, but the issue is as soon as you own majority stock, you get call on everything. It doesn't matter who you are.
Definitely, but I think that, like, realistically, like, looking at the other companies they bought, Apollo's has invested in the teen girl store Claire's. The other one, whose name is escaping me at the moment. Sycamore has invested in Belk and companies like that.
Sure.
It seems more like it's sort of like shadow leadership.
Sure, but
because those are companies that didn't drastically change after they were purchased.
Because Claire and Belk weren't seeing $488 million losses in a quarter. GameStop is. So if I'm an investor, even investing so I get majority stock, if that trend's going to continue whether they like it or not. The third quarter of the year is their biggest time to sell, and they experience a $488 million loss. If I'm investing in that company, I'm sure as hell going to fucking change it because I can't afford to lose $488 million.
My point isn't that the you know, when you've been seeing this headline kind of spread around the internet, I think that there's this thought that it's going to be like, oh my gosh, this business is going to change overnight or over the course of a couple months. But I think it's going to be one of those things where, like, I think we've seen a lot of gradual changes in GameStop over the past 2 years. At the time that I was working there and sort of leaving the company, they were moving more towards trying to focus their business on online. And then shortly after that, they bought ThinkGeek, and it seems like they sort of turned around on that because now they were opening ThinkGeek stores and they're holding ThinkGeek merchandise in store.
Sure.
Whereas, like, I feel like the big push towards the end of both of our tenure there was more like online stuff.
Sure.
But the reality is that if you looked at those changes from an outside perspective, I don't think that a lot of customers noticed that change as it was going on.
Sure.
And really the ThinkGeek change has only become more apparent because it's hard to walk around a store now.
It's because how royally they fucked up doing so.
So my point with either Sycamore or Apollo buying them out is I sort of see that it's going to be like these changes that people aren't going to realize until like 3 years from now when they're looking at the business, and it's like, you sort of look the same but you're a little different.
Yeah, possibly. But again, like as an investor, if I was looking at this and I saw a $488 million loss in what's supposed to be the biggest quarter of the year, I mean, I wouldn't be investing in this if I didn't have plans to change this thing drastically.
Right. It's definitely a risky investment.
Sure.
It's like it would be like looking at Blockbuster near the end of its life and be like, yeah, you know what? I
I'll
want to
go ahead
own
and
this.
buy that because it still works. People still rent, right?
Well,
People
right.
still rent, right? No, they don't. Oh, well, we'll still do it anyway.
I think part of the issue though with GameStop, if you look at it, and I think both of us experienced this problem while we were there, is that GameStop is trying to have so many different businesses that fall under its umbrella that don't necessarily fit in with its primary goal. Like, I don't think that ThinkGeek has a place in GameStop stores. I don't think that the fucking phone company they bought.
I don't think GameStop has a goal. I think GameStop used to have a goal.
I think that's part of the issue, though, is that they're picking up all these businesses that are sort of like right and left turns away from what they're supposed to be doing. That has become so convoluted that how do you profit off of that?
Yeah.
Because you need to have so many wheels turning at the same time to profit. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, I think your comparison between them and Hot Topic was pretty accurate.
Sure.
They're just like GameStop is basically just like, let's just try to absorb everything nerd culture and just put it in our store.
Sure.
And that's not always the best idea. Like having more is not necessarily a good idea.
Especially since nerds don't like going out, they'll just buy it off Amazon,
Right.
or Miniature Market, or fucking some D&D store, whatever the hell it is.
Well, I mean, I think that with Hot Topic, you know exactly what you get with GameStop. 90% of the shit they have in their store is not
true.
useful
It's very
in
true.
any real way.
It's very true.
I don't want a fucking Zelda journal.
Yeah.
I don't. You know, but like if I could walk into GameStop and they were selling fucking D&D miniatures,
Which they tried, and I bought, but they were gone real quick.
yeah, because it was mixed in. Well, and that's the other problem is all that shit sells out, and what do? More pops.
Yep.
No one wants more pops. Sorry. You want very specific pops.
Whitney
You don't want more pops.
Yeah.
Everyone in this room that collects pops, it's like 99% of those pops, you don't want them.
Yeah, that's true. It's very true. We want specific pops. Number 2, Epic is once again on the receiving end of a lawsuit concerning their dance emotes in Fortnite. Rachel McCumbers, the mother of a young Fortnite player who submitted a dance for Epic's Boogie Down competition last year, is now suing the developer for including her son's dance in the game. The now internet famous Orange Shirt Kid didn't actually win the contest, but his video featuring the dance used in the game has received over 1 million views, and a petition soon popped up requesting that Epic give him first place anyway. The lawsuit cites exploiting Orange Shirt Kid's dance moves and unfairly profiting from, quote, his protected creative expression, likeness, and trademark without consent or authorization, end quote. Orange Shirt Kid is currently in the process of copywriting his dance and is seeking damages, including attorney's fees and any profits Epic has made from the dance.
Man, that sounds like one of those situations where 99% of the time when you submit anything to a contest, you're also absolving your legal right to
Sure.
of ownership over said thing.
That was the first thing I thought of when I read this.
So if Epic held a contest and that wasn't part of their terms
Sure.
and conditions,
Yep.
that was a huge oversight, and they deserve to have their pantsuit off for that.
Yep.
But if it is, then this is not a strong case, and it'll
No,
be
it's
really
not.
funny to watch this flop.
But again, like
the dance.
like now I'm finally seeing articles. Can you copyright an emote? I'm starting to see those pop up now. Finally, somebody in the video game industry is asking the right fucking questions, like we've been, and for what, 4 weeks now before
shit, for
before
that.
2018.
8 months?
Yeah. We've been fucking asking that question, and now they're starting to get it. It's like, come on, guys. Yes, I will work for money for you guys, 100%. Anyway, there's a
Just because you can pose the question, we have yet to figure out an answer.
well, no, but the fact that I'm posing the question is
Pay me
step
for
step number
asking
1. I'm the architect, Trey. I pose the questions. Other people
as
answer
soon as
them.
you brought up this fucking personality test, I was like, how long is it going to take for him to throw that out?
Right.
An hour?
An excuse for what you do.
Anyway, another Fortnite dance is being yep, sure, whatever it is.
I mean,
Justice for Orange Justice,
yeah,
I guess.
Orange
I don't
Kid
know.
Justice.
it's hard for me because like I don't really have a dog in this fight, and I don't really give a shit either way. I kind of am just interested in the question more than anything else.
Sure.
However, in this case, I kind of hope that it's like, nope, you signed away your rights when you submitted this to the
Yeah,
contest.
maybe.
I really hope that's the case because
Sure,
that's just funny to me.
Like I
Because it proves that theory that I presented last time that we talked about this, where it's like at this point people are just jumping on a train.
yeah.
You know, it's not necessarily that every person that is suing cares. It's just that people are seeing dollar signs, and I don't think that's always the case. But in this case, I don't. I see this one as more of a people can make money off of this. Let's give it a shot.
Well, not only
But
that,
I think the basis too is the kid's become somewhat internet famous. Apparently, he's got a following. The video on his YouTube channel has over 1 million views. So, like, he's internet famous. I think that doesn't add validity to his court case.
No.
But I think it adds validity to the idea that I can sue because of this. You know
but
what I
should
mean?
you be able to sue just because you're internet famous? Just because a video of you went viral, does that mean
Should
that
you
you
be
should
able
get...
to? Should you be able to release a console that's an emulator of every single thing just because you're Soldier Boy? No, it doesn't.
Well, I mean, okay,
That's my point.
going a little bit back though. I'm going to say something shitty because if we were talking about an actual artist, someone that draws or makes music,
Sure.
I would not make this argument.
People that are smart enough to copyright their creative expressions,
Or someone who
Someone who put effort into
who's
something.
putting effort into something. There is something to be said about exposure. That's a shitty thing to say, because I would, if someone was drawing a picture and someone stole that picture, I would not talk about exposure in that sense.
Sure.
But when I'm talking about a dance, there's something to be said about exposure.
Sure.
And it's like, sure, is it shitty maybe that Epic used your dance emote when you didn't win the contest? Maybe. But also, now you're famous because of Fortnite. Congratulations.
I think he was famous before Fortnite, just to play devil's advocate here. He was famous before that.
Well, either way, having Fortnite sort of be this big thing that's promoting your dance.
Sure, yeah.
In either case, you're
What are
getting
you looking at me like
exposure.
that for?
No, what are you talking about? Who's famous before?
Orange Shirt Kid was famous before they put that dance into the game, because he didn't win the contest. He came in like number 23. So that YouTube video had been around for a little while, and then he just used that video to say, hey, here's my dance for the Fortnite competition, who didn't win, which is why his internet fans started a petition to get Epic to put it into to give him first place anyway. But then, without consent, again, without asking, without doing anything, Epic just went ahead and put the dance in the game.
Yeah.
So the dance came before the competition. So he was technically famous before the competition.
It always just
but you're right. He's getting even more famous now because
regardless,
of this.
you're sort of getting some monetary compensation
Sure.
for the exposure that you're getting for it, especially on a platform that completely relies on views, likes, dislikes, all this fucking bullshit comments. So, and how would you monetize a dance before that? Again, it comes back to that same conversation.
100%.
You cannot monetize a dance.
100%.
So maybe the exposure is not a bad thing, because you're suddenly monetizing something that you couldn't previously monetize.
Unless you're Epic, and then you can monetize a dance.
But also, like as a kid though, like if I was a kid and Epic, I love Epic, I love Fortnite. They put me in their. They put my.
saying that?
No, I'm saying as a
Okay.
kid,
So
if
you're-
this was me,
That's why he hates Red
He's
Dead, because he loves
I'm
Fortnite.
about to kick you off this podcast, sir.
But if they put my dance in a game, I would just think that's badass.
Sure.
I
I
would
would
brag
too.
about that to
Sure,
everyone.
yeah.
But it's these kids' parents who are like, we can make money off
Well,
of this.
I mean, and that's the thing, right? Like, I think we say that we're like, oh man, that's be super badass. But then when you look at the numbers, they might not know. I don't know how much his dance is. I don't know if people actually bought it. But let's say Epic's made $5 million off of this dance. It's like that's super cool that my dance is in this game, but shouldn't I get some of that $5 million because it's my dance? Like,
would
I
a kid comprehend that? I mean,
well, I don't know how old the kid is.
I mean,
The mom would. That's why Rachel McCumbers is the one suing.
and
as a
same
fan
thing
of-
with, same thing with
Yeah.
Backpack
As
Kid.
a fan of things throughout my life, like the degree to which I'll consider myself as having made it has changed. Like if you had asked me 3 years ago, it would be I'll know I have made it when they make a pop of me. Now, after fucking Dragon Heist and Matt Mercer being in that, like literally a character in that book, like a drawing of a character in that book, part of me is like, I'll have made it when I'm in a fucking, Wizards of the Coast D&D book.
Sure.
Okay.
Some of these become more and more,
Just a
less
picture,
and less realistic.
just a picture of you, or
Like a drawing of me.
Okay,
like,
see, I have more aspirations. Like, I want Arkin to somehow become part of the god
Of the
pantheon.
lore?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Man.
That's-
Anyway,
that's what I. Would
We're
like to
talking
see.
about my aspirations for having made it and not yours. But for me, like if there was ever a point where like I got to play a character in Destiny or something that I did on the internet was made into a Destiny meme, like my first thought would not be monetary compensation for the likeness of me being in a game. It would literally just be like, oh man, I'm immortalized in this thing that I love. I'm immortalized in this D&D manual or as a pop or in Destiny. That would be enough for me. And I think that would be enough for a lot of fans. And I do think you bring up a fairly good point where it's like, I bet if you asked fucking Orange Shirt Kid, hey, do you need the money or are you just cool like with your dance being in Fortnite? You'd be like, I really just want my dance to be in Fortnite.
Yeah, maybe, but then you get to the whole like Greg Miller's in Spider-Man, right? Shirtless, kind of chubby Greg Miller.
Shirtless Spider-Man.
Shirtless.
And that's not Greg Miller.
He's in the game, but
Greg Miller is just his spokesperson. Shirtless Spider-Man.
sure. I'm
and
just
Greg Miller
saying.
are different
You
people.
haven't seen them in
Cannot
the
be
same
confirmed.
room. Yeah, you just haven't seen them in the same room at the same time.
Exactly,
Just
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, but like realistically, Greg gave his consent for them to put that into the game.
Mm-hmm.
If they just did it as a tribute to Greg Miller,
Actually, they didn't ask Greg.
did they not?
No,
He's just
they
in
had
it?
no idea until people were sending them pictures
Okay,
that
so
he was in the
that's
game.
even better. That's even better to my point. I don't know on a monetary value how successful Kind of Funny is. They've got to be doing pretty fucking well for themselves.
I mean, shit, I think you could look at their Patreon and
Sure.
see.
So Greg doesn't need to worry about that. But Rachel McCumbers could be $10,000 in debt. Like, you know what I mean? Money drives a lot of people in this world. That is my point.
Yeah,
Sure.
And so, like, I think, you know, if you know, if it's a dance, no, there's no way. But like, let's say, you know, hypothetically speaking, D&D loves the idea of Arkan, right? And they put Arkan in the lore without my consent in any way, shape, or form, right? That's not okay with me, because that's something that I'd spent, you know, a year creating. You know what I mean? It's the same thing as writing or writing music or drawing something. It's like that's my intellectual property, and I don't think I'd be okay with that.
Well, you know, I think part of that issue though would be someone else writing your character, right?
Sure.
Like you know, as far as like characters that I've created, I would say, you know, there's one that I've created that I am super passionate about, and I get testy when I think of other people.
The Blood Hunter that you can't remember the name to?
No.
Yeah,
another character. I don't want to spoil
that one.
I don't want to spoil for our people here. So if someone else was writing that character, I would have an issue.
Yeah.
But also, there's also that thing that I brought up one time, and I can't help but think about it. Like, it's not like they're just taking an image of this kid dancing and putting it in their game.
You're 100% right.
They're literally animating it.
You're 100%
They're
right.
making that animation happen. And there's something like, you know, if say someone drew a picture of Arkan, right? Someone drew a really cool picture of Arkan, and they were selling prints on DeviantArt and making like 25 cents off a print, and maybe sold like 10 prints. Would you still would you feel the same as if like Wizards of the Coast had published Arkan in a book and had someone else write him?
Well, I'm sorry. Say the question again.
Like, if someone's just selling these prints on DeviantArt
and not making a lot of money for it.
Yeah, there's just a dude selling a picture of Arkan that they drew.
No,
that's really
because
cool.
there's not a lot of money involved.
Well, no, okay, but say they're making a lot of money off it.
Then yes.
But you didn't make that drawing. You just made a character. So if
I'm sorry, I see what you're saying.
So if I did,
they're
if
not ripping off the character. They're just making fan art of the character.
Yeah, and they're
no,
selling
you can't
the
do
fan
anything about that.
but that's the same thing that's Epic's doing.
I'm agreeing with everything you guys are saying.
Yeah.
It all just goes back to the thing is like, can you copyright a dance? I don't think you can. I just don't. I just don't think there's any way to copyright a fucking dance.
But still, especially whenever it's recreated, like you were saying, it's
and
animated.
I just have to continue to say this every time this topic is brought up. I'm going to say this. A world where you can copyright dances is worse than the world that we live in now.
Sure.
Because that means that anything is up for grabs, which means that everyone has to do things originally, which cuts off creativity at a huge degree.
Sure.
Because no creative project is made in a vacuum. Every creative project is influenced by every creative project that the creator loves. And so we're living in a world where you can copyright literally anything. You just have robots talking into a fucking microphone or talking at a camera.
Sure. Well, this is the same reason why TV show directors or writers or movie writers or you know, authors, they will never read anything that fans send them, because then as soon as they read it, if they ever create something that might remotely resemble something, someone's going to claim that they're copyrighting them.
Sure.
I mean, and technically in the same world where you can copyright a dance, you can copyright a show structure, which means that Kinda Funny could sue us for using a show structure that Greg Miller and Colin Moriarty invented 10 years ago.
Technically, we've been doing this longer.
We have not before Beyond,
before
and
Kinda
that's
Funny,
sort of how our shit is structured.
Before Kinda Funny and Beyond doesn't structure their shit like this anymore. So we are the oldest podcast that uses this thing.
Oh yeah, you're not. Well, maybe. I can neither confirm nor deny
fuck off, Beyond.
your allegations, but I like the thought that they're ripping us off.
Number 4, last but not least in the actual news topics. Last week we reported that the fourth and final forge in the Black Armory DLC had become available to all.
Is this number 4?
You skipped one.
Number 4, Take-Two, and number 4, and absolutely not last. Number 3, and not last, Take-Two Interactive is also currently being sued by the Pinkerton Detective Agency over the use of characters Andrew Milton and Edgar Ross, 2 agents featured in Red Dead Redemption 2. According to The Verge, a cease and desist letter was sent to Take-Two in December over the characters. The detective agency stated
the game came out.
The detective agency stated that they felt the developer was, quote, creating a false impression that the game was made by or connected with Pinkerton, end quote, which it's not, and is demanding that Take-Two, quote, pay either a lump sum or ongoing royalties, end quote. Take-Two's response was, of course,
fuck off,
to sue Pinkerton, claiming the characters are within the protection of the First Amendment and are requesting the characters be, quote, declared fair use, arguing that they're part of the Red Dead Redemption 2's detailed historical setting, end quote.
Chris.
Sue everybody!
Chris, as the... you might not know the answer to this, but as the history major here, I guess, like, I'm going to ask a dumb question.
Ask a dumb question. No, there's no dumb question in history unless you ask when the Declaration of Independence was signed.
Would you say that the Pinkertons' involvement in that period of time in the West kind of falls under the same category as, like, something like the Nazi Army would fall under in World War II?
100%.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Pinkerton Detective Agency was the initial startup point of, like, the FBI. Mm-hmm. And I think, organized policing was very much spurred off of the Pinkerton Detective Agency, because in at the turn of the century there were sheriffs and deputies that basically had rule over a town, and then there was a marshal who had rule over, like, a jurisdiction, but then there was, like, the judge, right? There was the kind of governor of, like, a state, and that person kind of had at least police jurisdiction over that entire thing. So the chain of command was really thin, right? Because you had governor, marshal, sheriff, deputy. That's basically all it was. And then the Pinkertons showed up, and they started doing, widespread, police work. And so that's, I think, where...
So it kind of moved it to a federal level from a state
Exactly.
level.
It kind of moved it to a federal level where there was a lot of people enforcing the law, not just a small amount of people from the governor to the sheriff. And I think they played a huge... And they do. They play a huge part in the American West and how law enforcement evolved to where we are today. And they still exist. Pinkerton Detective Agency still exists, I think, in Washington, D.C. or maybe West Virginia or something like that.
So Pinkerton does realize that Red Dead Redemption 2 is a made-up story.
I mean, but
in a made-up world.
The question I guess I was driving to is I feel like then the Pinkerton Agency in a story in the Old West would fit into the same fair use category as the FBI or state troopers
100%.
Or CIA would in a modern, game.
No, I don't think so, because you can't use the CIA or the FBI in a video game. You can't say, "Oh, this is the FBI." Well, no, because if you look at GTA or even, like, Saints Row, it's like weird things. It's like
but if you look at television,
I think it's different.
It's not. So many shows use
Maybe
like the FBI or CIA.
Mm-hmm. See, that's a legal question. I don't know. I would say yes, just because they're not. The thing is, they're not government funded. The Pinkerton Detective Agency they're not government funded. I don't think they are. I think they're privately funded. I think. I don't want to. Don't quote me on that one.
All these people are constantly hiring the Pinkertons to do shit.
Sure.
So
Yeah, I don't know. But I to an extent, I kind of agree with Take-Two saying because there's such a huge influence in the way historical settings are portrayed. I think technically it kind of would fall under the First Amendment, right? But since they're not a government agency, maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
Yeah, because there's that one show with Jonathan Groff on Netflix. I'm told the name's escaping me, where he's interviewing killers.
Mindhunter. How to make a serial killer. That's not right.
Literally, like, that whole story revolves around the FBI. Do you think they have to license the use of FBI from?
That's a documentary, not a TV show.
It's not a documentary.
Oh, it's an actual TV show.
It's a drama.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I
have no
fucking clue then.
Like
Law and Order.
That is just all
CSI.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know the legal questions. I know if you were to ask me, are the Pinkertons as important as, like, Nazis in a historical setting? I would say yes. And you can, but the Nazi regime doesn't exist, so you can use Nazis all you want. You know what I mean?
They do.
I mean, technically,
the Nazi regime doesn't exist.
Technically, Germany would still have legal rights over the Nazi IP.
I don't think they want it.
I mean, whether or not they want it is not the issue. It's who has ownership.
Are they coming out whenever Wolfenstein comes out? It's like, well, that didn't happen.
You're portraying,
gone too far.
Yeah, you're portraying Nazis a little radical here, guys.
If you guys are going to use our IP, at least respect
Yeah.
it.
I don't know. It's a
Sieg Heil.
Are there? Oh my god. Are they're like modern day Templars, right? I mean, that's still a thing.
Yeah, they're the Freemasons. It's the same thing.
I mean, do they have a problem with like Assassin's Creed and stuff? I mean,
No,
God.
so
because Assassin's Creed is so
fake.
off the mark. Of
Part
what
of
they
me
actually
wishes that I was born like 30 or 40 years from now when all these questions were answered.
Sure, that's it.
Because
See,
like
I think-
none of this at this point, it's not like exciting. It's not. It's
well,
not
no,
cool
it
to
is
think about.
exciting.
It's just annoying.
Well,
for
no,
me.
at least to me, I think it really is exciting because we're kind of on like the precipice of like, video games are so big now that now we're literally questioning: can you copyright a dance?
Except
or
all-
can you use a Pinkerton detective agency in a video game?
Except the problem with the U.S. fucking legal system is that none of these
Sure,
things
I don't want to go down that road.
but none of these things exclusively affect video games.
Sure.
The second that you rule on anything that's against the standard or that's new and different, every lawyer on the fucking United States continent or country wants to take it and apply it to everything,
Where
which
the-
ruins
hey,
shit.
hey,
It sets a precedent.
Where the fuck is Positive Trey?
I don't know. This is why. You can't be positive, Trey, because there's no such thing as a positive video game news story. So you just bring out the worst in me. It just frustrates me. It makes me so mad because it's like, I get it. Money's important. And I don't want to say that money's not important because if I had an opportunity to sue someone and get $10 million, it'd be really hard for me to not sue them. However, it's just not fun. It's just kind of stupid. And sometimes maybe the least important thing you can be doing at any given time is suing somebody.
Get your politics out of my video games.
Yeah, like, you know what? And all this money that you're going to be hiring lawyers and shit trying to sue Take-Two, who I guarantee you probably makes more revenue year over year than the Pinkerton agency does in 10 years, you could be solving a crime. I'm just saying.
They are solving a crime. This crime.
Let's see if we can bring the positivity back with number 4.
What's your angle? My angle is justice.
Number 4.
What's your case? Pinkerton.
Number 4, let's bring the positivity back. There's no positivity here. Last week, we reported the fourth and final Forge in the Black Armory DLC had become available to all annual pass owners.
We did not report that.
Yes, we did. You talked about the last Forge being available.
We talked about how people were still trying to figure out how to unlock it, and it became available on Thursday.
In order to access the Forge, players had to solve a series of elaborate, intense, and obtuse puzzles in the game. Gamers, mainly streamers and full-time Destiny players, took to the internet to work together and try to figure out how to unlock the Forge. Once the puzzles were solved by a single fire team, the Forge would open to every player of Destiny. I'm recapping what we talked about last week. Now, this, of course, was met with hostility and praise. Some fans were thanking Bungie for giving them, quote, challenging content, while other, more logically thinking people were condemning Bungie for locking content they already paid for behind a puzzle that the average player made it basically impossible to solve, did not have time or the ability to solve. Days after days, I think it was like 5 or 6 days without success, Bungie finally made the announcement that they were going to manually unlock the Forge.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you know you have a good product.
No, that's how you know that you have fucked up royally.
You know, in defense of the people that were like hostile about it, I get that there's a side of Destiny that really likes these puzzles and all that, but I also don't think
the
that
0.2% of cryptographer with cryptography degrees at playing Destiny.
But it was like,
Get the hell out of here.
Even as like from a casual like sideline view of it, not that I've ever solved any of these puzzles, it was cool when people figured this shit out. But it was never direct content that was locked behind these puzzles.
Right,
It
and
was
that's
really
the
just
issue.
side shit.
That's the
so
issue.
they were 100% correct, and anyone who disagrees with them just doesn't value their money.
Yep.
Because like, how do you say we are selling this thing, but you know what? It's going to take you 2 weeks to figure it out how to open it.
Actually, you're never going to figure. Well, I'm sorry. There is a team of there is a fire team that finally solved it and got their little emblem and all that shit. But it was after the Forge was unlocked manually by Bungie, and I think it was almost a week after they finally figured it out. Mm-hmm. A week after. So if Bungie didn't unlock the Forge on the Saturday that they did, Saturday after the Tuesday that it started, it literally took 5 days, and nobody had solved it. And if they didn't unlock it, it would have been another 2 or 3 days before it finally was unlocked. So, like Trey's saying, major content that has already been paid for by the players was inaccessible because of a puzzle. that nobody could figure out.
You know what's funny though is that you kind of taking like a related right turn off of this. I got to see the disillusionment of a casual player in Destiny happen over the course of like 3 weeks. There was this guy at my work that plays Destiny, and he's straight up casual Destiny. He jumps in on new expansions and plays, has a good time. And he had jumped in and he was like, yeah, I'd already bought the season pass. I'm gonna try this out. I'm really, really excited about it. It's gonna be super cool. Second week he was like, yeah, I really, really like Black Armory. I think it's awesome. It's cool. Third week he was like, I can't play this. He's like, because it requires so much of a time sink in any given week, and the next week your goals reset and the next thing is there. Mm-hmm. He goes, I can't do anything in this fucking game because I can't make daily progress towards anything. I have to invest a shit ton of time in the week, and I don't have that time. Mm-hmm. He goes, so I start working on this weapon at the beginning of the week, and the next week it's a new fucking forge, and I can't get the weapon that I was working towards last week. Mm-hmm. He's like, I don't see how anyone has time for this. I'm like, thank you for saying it, because this is what I've been saying for the past 3 months.
But they don't care because they always got they already got your money. So.
No, they don't care because the fucking streamers are like, thank God I have something that I can sink 500 hours of time and make money off of the content that I'm making. The people that
matter, the Bungie's firstborn children are happy. So Bungie's happy.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Whenever I saw you share this on Twitter, the cryptography thing, I was baffled. I did not know what I was looking at.
Yeah, dude, I'm serious. Dude, it took players a week to solve this puzzle. A week, Bungie? Did you hire fucking Nicolas Cage from National Treasure to come up with this fucking puzzle? Or did you make it for Nicolas Cage? Who the hell are you making this game for now?
So, Nick, we're working on this puzzle for our game Destiny. Do you have any suggestions? Bees. Anything else? Bees. Just include bees. Bye.
Yeah, just
there's no bees in National Treasure.
You just need to put lemon.
I'm thinking Wicker Man. I think.
I'm pretty sure that's Sean Connery.
No, there's more.
Oh, it sounded like you were saying. Sound like Sean Connery.
No, I was thinking Wicker Man.
Connery. Oh, Wicker Man.
Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah.
I've never seen it. I just know bees are in Wicker Man.
It's not a good movie.
It's not. It really wasn't actually. Mm-hmm. That's one movie. That's a movie I don't think I'd ever watch again. It really wasn't that good.
Anyways,
speaking of Destiny,
no. I mean, we're talking about Destiny.
Destiny has quick saves.
Oh, I forgot about quick saves. Do quick saves.
No, they don't.
To be fair, I've purposely not been looking at the notes and just trying to listen to Chris because I feel like I need to work on my listening skills, and I forgot about quick saves.
Have you moved? So your New Year's resolution of being positive has now moved on to I'm just gonna listen better.
No, I mean, no. That was something I've just been working on in general.
That's funny.
Okay. I have really poor listening skills. I have a really hard time like focusing on someone and not I would much rather think about what I'm going to say next.
Yes, I do the same thing. Yeah. Whenever I first meet somebody and I'm getting introduced and they say their name, I'm already thinking about what I'm saying next, so I always miss their name.
Hi, I'm Justin. Hi, I'm Trey. My grandmother died. My favorite superhero is Spider-Man.
No, I'm just thinking moving on to keep the conversation going, but then I never catch their name, and then it's 3 weeks later. I'm like, shit. Somebody just say their name.
Have you ever gotten into a name stalemate with somebody? Where you're like...
Hey, bud.
Yes. You're coming up with every other noun that's not a proper noun to describe this person. Yeah.
You're pulling out things that you would never say. What's up, champ?
How you doing, buckaroo?
This guy.
Moving on, quick saves. As always, if there's something interesting, stop me, but don't. Amazon is reportedly working on a video game streaming service that will circumvent expensive hardware that may launch sometime in 2020. It may work, may not. We've had this conversation before about streaming services.
It's the future.
Actually, I learned there actually is a streaming service. I think it's called Shadow that lets you stream high-end video games like Witcher and stuff like that. They don't have licensing for everything, but you can basically stream a video game through your internet connection and play something like The Witcher where your computer normally wouldn't.
So you know what's crazy about that TV that my parents gave me? Smart TV? It's a Sony TV, and its entire interface is sort of like a modern version of the cross-media bar.
Okay.
Like it's very much
like has that whole move.
Yeah, it's very much influenced by like a cross between the PS3 and PS4. But the interesting thing is I think that there is a game I think like PlayStation now is built into it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I think you could just play games off of this TV.
That's really awesome.
I do believe it's the future. I believe that hardware is not the future. However, you got to figure out,
it's the internet.
80% of the United States where internet sucks.
Mm-hmm. Something interesting, Jurassic World Evolution has sold 2 million units.
It's not bad for that
It's
game.
not bad for that game at all.
Also, it looks really fucking cool.
Yeah, we like it's on sale on the PS4 for like $15, and we were going through the sale thing. Like, I think we were this close to pressing buy.
On any given day, I'm this close, but until it has like a more consistent price drop, it's hard for me to justify buying it.
BioWare has confirmed that Anthem will have matchmaking in all its activities.
I read this and I heard your cheers from miles away.
I did. I cheered hard, which means I actually don't have to talk to people to get through shit unless I very, very much want to. The thing is like, right, there's kind of like raids in Anthem. There are. And there's levels. So if you want the best shit, you put it on the best level, but you have to communicate with people to do that. But I can still do that really hard shit at an easy level and not have to talk to people. It's not hard.
I get that WoW raids are hard, and I get that there's like a certain level of communication that needs to happen in a WoW raid. But after a certain period of time, it gets to the point where you don't need to communicate. That never changes for Bungie's shit. It's one thing to have a hard thing where you have to communicate at first, but once everyone understands it, you should be able to play something without having to be like, blue cup,
But
red
you can't.
dogs.
Yeah, but you can't. Actually, you can. I think there was a Death Fire team that finished Leviathan.
How?
Impressive. Just
I think they still had to use communication software.
well, no, they did emotes. They were like they use emotes in
so
game.
see?
Yeah,
They still had to use like some
sure
fucked up
they had to
communication
communicate.
process.
Yes, yeah.
Good Lord.
Rocket League is now. Oh, I'm sorry. Rocket League is now what?
You got it.
Rocket League Rocket League now has full platform, full cross-platform play across PS4, Switch, Xbox One, and PC. Please hit me with the book. I don't know what the hell happened there. Second game to go full cross-platform. Good shit. Red Dead Online now features a battle royale mode. Of course it does. Why wouldn't
Yeah,
It was a
but
matter
you know
of
what?
time.
Like,
It's a matter
if
of time.
any battle royale like mode were to like catch my attention and get
Is
me to
Red
play
Dead?
it, a Western one
Sure.
would get me to play it. Also, there's this really cool game I saw a video of. Completely can't remember the name, but it has like a Breath of the Wild sort of art style, and everyone are like mages and shit, and you have these fucking cool like magic powers you can use.
I know what you're talking about.
I cannot remember the name of it, but that was the first battle royale game that I was like, once this is out of early access,
Was that
I am going to buy
gigantic?
It was not gigantic.
Oh, okay.
I saw that,
Is it
and
the
I
one
remember
Damien
looking
likes? Paladins?
No,
No,
I can't remember what
it's
called.
still in like early access.
But it looks like a Breath of the Wild game, but everyone are like these cool fucking floating mages with magic
Yes.
powers. You can make like rock walls and firewalls and shit.
Yes, the rock walls is what got me because I was like, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah,
Like,
he like hits the ground and then rocks like spike up. That'll probably be the first battle royale game that I actually try.
it wasn't something simple like Battle of Mages, right?
No, it had a really simple name, but it was sort of generic, which is why I don't remember it. But the art style and the combat, I was like, I would try this game. I don't know that I would play it for more than like 2 weeks.
Mages of ass butt.
But yeah,
I'm going to skip this one because I want to save it for last. Ubisoft has announced moving forward, their games will be releasing on the Epic storefront instead of Steam. Shit's moving over, man. Which it's going to defeat the point of because I think Epic storefront, their whole deal was like, we want to showcase indies, but then like all these major companies are moving over. I think it's funny.
It was called Spellbreak, by the way.
There you go.
it might not be Spellbreak.
Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen will be releasing for Switch on April 23rd. And last, but certainly not least, the late great Stan Lee is now immortalized in World of Warcraft as an NPC named Stanley that roams around Stormwind Castle shouting,
Excelsior! Excelsior! Actually, is how
It's
he
good.
says it.
It's good
Cute.
shit, man. That's good stuff.
I wonder what
It is
race he
Spellbreak.
is. Does
It is
he?
Spellbreak.
Yeah. So, have you seen him? You know what he looks like?
Stan Lee, yeah, he's old and he's got a mustache with really
Just
thick
looks like him?
glasses. He looks like Stan Lee,
That's awesome.
but in like Stormwind armor. It's
Okay.
really cool.
I just wanted him to be wearing like a sweater.
At
like,
first,
just-
I was like, "Have you seen Stan Lee?" Like, yes, I've seen Stan Lee. I'm,
you know what he looks like, right?
yeah.
Old white guy.
Speaking of Destiny,
What was that noise you were making as he said that?
Well, I don't know.
naming
Okay.
more metal bands.
Topic of the week. So, very, very absent from our news story this week was the biggest news story so far of 2019 in the 15 days. in the 15 days.
Real
Actually,
short window.
it's pretty big.
It's pretty big, but also
pretty big.
the bar you set
Sure.
was not that high.
Sure. But like at the end of 2019, I guarantee like top 5 news stories this might be on them unless something crazy happens.
Easily top story of the week.
Easily top story of the week.
Half-Life 3.
Bungie, I entitled the topic of the week, the Bungie and Activision split, or the one where Ross and Rachel take a break.
I get the reference.
Thank you, Justin. Bungie and Activision have announced that they are bringing their 8-year relationship to an end. I'm hitting bullet points, and we could talk about all these bullet points later. Bungie will be assuming full publishing rights to their IP Destiny. Both companies are committed to a seamless transition. Reports have stated that when the split was first announced, devs at Bungie were standing up and cheering, and champagne bottles were being opened after the announcement in Bungie.
Do they just
There was cheering at Bungie offices.
I 100% believe that.
Do they just have these champagne bottles at the ready? Like,
well, I think they knew it was coming, and when the announcement happened, they and the peasants rejoiced. Activision has promoted Rob Kostich to the role of president after working for the company for nearly 15 years. After the former head of Blizzard, Mike Morhaime, will exit the company he helped create in April. I don't know who that is.
So wait, that was the head of Activision?
No, Activision has promoted Rob Kostich to the role of president of Blizzard after Mike has left after 15 years.
Morhaime?
Understood.
Morhaime, thank you.
It's not that hard.
Good job. And this is where it gets a little anti-Activision. Dennis Durkin has also been appointed CFO of Activision and has been given a $15 million bonus. This is after the microtransaction backlash in Call of Duty Black Ops 4, where, no joke, Activision was charging $1 for a red dot sight for a gun. And statements from Activision backing up the microtransactions because of, quote, the increased price of developing video games, end quote. Activision stock had dropped 10% after the announcement, and it still fully hasn't recovered. Now, in perspective, 10% of billions of dollars is a big-ass drop. Still hasn't recovered. It probably will. It's just of note. Activision and key directors, Activision's key directors and operators are also currently under investigation for security fraud, i.e. possible insider trading before the split. And devs have been positively outspoken on Twitter and supportive toward Bungie. Cliff Basinski did tweet out, Bungie splits with Activision. Y'all knew what you signed up for from the get-go. Still glad you got the rights back. Now self-publish, control your destiny, end quote. Phil Spencer, god of the Xbox, also said, looking forward to a very bright future working with one of my favorite independent studios on one of my favorite franchises. Excited to see how they continue and grow and evolve Destiny.
So my first thought was...
So those are the bullet points. We can go back and hit it because those are the big...
That's the umbrella.
Yeah. So my first thought was when I saw this news article was... one of my 2019 predictions was no Destiny 3 this year, no hint of Destiny 3 this year. That basically, just not going to see Destiny 3 this year. However,
I don't even know what my predictions were, but I think one of them had to do with Destiny.
Not this year.
Oh,
I don't think so. I don't think this year.
Okay. I thought it said Destiny 2 was dying. No,
that was last year.
Okay.
This one. This might completely... I mean, it all depends on like where the game's at and et cetera, et cetera. But I don't know this for sure, and I haven't seen anything to not support this idea. But like, if you're looking at all these IPs that THQ Nordic has been picking up, one of the issues that they're running into is that they can't remaster a lot of these because their rights are still previously held by another company. Kingdoms of Amalur is the first thing that comes up, where I think EA technically has a publishing rights to that game.
Sure.
Right.
So that leads me to believe that for the rest of Destiny 2's life cycle, whatever income is coming into that game is also still going to Activision because they still should have publishing rights over Destiny 2. So if I were Bungie, and assuming that the game was in a state where it could launch fairly soon, I would be pushing for Destiny 3 this year, if not first half of next year. Which means that we very well could start seeing Destiny 3 shit this year.
So Bungie has assumed full publishing rights for the Destiny IP.
Full publishing rights.
The Destiny IP.
Exactly. Full publishing rights for games that are coming out in the future, not for games that currently exist.
Okay, so
like Activision will continue to make money on Destiny.
No, then going to both companies are committed to a seamless transition. I doubt Bungie is going to let Activision keep doing this. What you're saying, if what you're saying is true, I seriously doubt Bungie would keep this going. Does that make sense?
I would imagine that there will be however long this transition period is going to be, Like Activision will continue to get money from this for
sure, and you're probably
for
right.
I would say maybe 6 months.
Yeah, maybe
half the year.
And that's exactly, from what you just said, that's why I, as Bungie, the new independent company, independently publishing my future Destiny games, would want to get Destiny 3 out as soon as reasonably possible.
Sure. Because
that's the one way that they can cut ties with Activision finally and remove Activision's, source of revenue for Destiny as an IP.
Yeah, so rush another Destiny.
I mean, I think they'll be smarter than that. But
Hopefully.
if Destiny 3 is in a place where it could reasonably launch this year, and they see more money coming from that than launching another expansion, which by default, if they're still splitting fucking money with Activision and Destiny 2, you're going to see more money from Destiny 3. I could see them skipping the next expansion and going straight to Destiny 3 if possible, or skipping an expansion at all this year and trying to get Destiny 3 out early next year.
Mm-hmm. Sure, as long as they don't rush it.
Yeah,
we've seen what, and I think Activision is a lot to blame for the rushing of all Destiny products, but we've seen what happened when we see what happens when Bungie gets put into a crunch and has to rush a game.
Well, I think one of the biggest problems with Bungie as a company since it's forming is that they never know how to finish a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think Halo Combat Evolved was a pretty good experience, but Halo 2 was an unfinished game. And every subsequent Halo after that they developed and published through Xbox had those same issues. And then Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 both had those issues. I think unfortunately, like, what we're going to continue to run into with Destiny or with Bungie as a company is they don't know how to finish a game. However, now that they don't have a contract with Activision to put out a certain amount of games before the contract is over,
they technically can take as much time as they want.
They can take as much time as they want, but they can also have a game exist for as long as they want.
Right, but is that necessarily
as long as the money's rolling in?
As long as the money's rolling in, but I could very much see this idea that we've had for Destiny as a platform finally coming to fruition with Destiny 3 because they have no obligation to keep making games.
Mm-hmm.
So if you launch, and especially like too when you're looking at monetizing content, part of that seems like a very much Activision sort of thing to do. So I could see them finally going over to that WoW model where it's like, you have your paid expansions, but you also have free content updates in between.
Sure. See, I think they're going to, now that they don't have Activision's money backing them, I think they're going to be pushing the Eververse more than ever.
Well, see, the issue is the Eververse existed solely because of Activision. And once Destiny as a platform showed that that's not going to gain Activision money, if you look at Destiny 2 and the Eververse right now, it is not in a bad position. Mm-hmm. The Eververse is not intruding. It's annoying because there's some things that you really want, but it's actually fairly easy to get it by playing the game. So the Eververse is in a very good spot. When it comes to the whole, like, you can spend money, but you really don't have to get the things you want. Whereas the Eververse before, when, Destiny 2 launched and Activision, was, fucking ejaculating money to Bungie, Eververse sucked. Yeah. There was shit locked behind Eververse that was just like, could have been game breaking, was like mods, shit. There was stuff in Eververse that was just ridiculous. But now that they've seen that Bungie, or at least the Bungie audience, is not ones to be like, yeah, we're going to spend a shit ton of money on the Eververse. Activision, you can tell, is like backed away from it and let Bungie curate the Eververse more than Activision did in the first place, which is why it's in a good spot. See, I don't think they're going to do that.
Also, one last thing that might sort of change your view on this is we all also have to remember that in June they just accepted $100 million investment from NetEase. Mm-hmm. So it's not like they don't have money coming in from other sources. Right. It's just that NetEase doesn't have any publishing rights to their IP.
Yeah. I don't know. For me, I'm of two minds of this. On one side, I see, finally Bungie can really make Destiny however they truly intended for it to be.
Some might say they can make it great again.
Yes. But
I don't want to raid on your parade, but Destiny, where it's at right now, is where Bungie wants it.
Yeah, but I mean that's not what everyone. Okay, sorry. No, what the internet is saying is that great now Destiny can finally be Bungie's like dream child.
Destiny is where Bungie wants it. I guarantee you, Destiny is exactly where Bungie wants it.
Well, I hope so because I
don't hope so because that's alienated us.
Well, no, I hope so in the sense that I don't think that they're going to be able to change.
You hope this is the game that Bungie wants and not the game Activision wanted.
Right? Mainly because I don't think that without Activision, Bungie's going to be able to do a whole lot. mainly because Activision was giving them a ton of money for a lot of the game developers that they had, like working on their staff.
Yeah.
I think that we're going to see a lot of people losing jobs at Bungie because of this.
I'm not sure. I'm not so sure about that. Like,
They have
I think
over 700 employees.
They also
I
just
thought
got
it was
a
200 employees.
I think it was 700.
Oh.
They also just got a huge investment from from a Chinese corporation.
That was like a year ago.
Sure.
No,
but
it wasn't. It was 6 months ago.
Also game
Like a year.
also game devs don't make a lot of money.
They make on average 80,000 a year.
Game developers, not head honchos, like the guys on the.
That's what I saw in an article. I
on the floor.
didn't do too much digging into it.
Like the
but
guys on the floor doing shit, I would assume don't make a lot of money.
Software engineers, on average, make anywhere between $60,000 and $100,000 a year with a bachelor's degree.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
so
I
it's
mean,
not
it's-
unrealistic.
Right. So I mean, I'm just interested to see the effects, the negative effects that it might have on Bungie
I'm thinking
as a corporation as a whole.
Sure, I think there will be negative effects because it is a huge revenue loss technically, right? They don't have the unlimited checkbook of Activision anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that might also have a positive outlook on Bungie because I think they're going to spend their money maybe more wisely than they did before. Because I just we've talked about this before, and like as much as we love Halo and stuff like that, Bungie and Bethesda have dropped off of like the 4 Bs of video games in my eyes because they just Bungie did like
Shit,
Bungie.
so is Blizzard.
Yeah, so is Blizzard to an
There's
extent.
only
yeah,
one good
yeah,
bee
you're
right now,
100%
and they
right.
could fuck it up in a month.
They could fuck it up in a month.
Now it's all 4 bad bees.
Bees.
Yeah,
Nicolas Cage.
but
Ring.
but just Bungie, they've taken a game where they had 2 million players every day, and now they're down to under 1 million a day.
Well, to Justin's point, my response was going to be if any of the negative effects that happen to Destiny are going to be Bungie's fault.
Of course.
Because at the end of the day, like, they only value the 1% of their audience.
Right.
And, Chris and I, who kind of fit into that 1% in our own weird niche way, and the guy at my work who was playing and spent $40 on an expansion pass that he's not going to get any enjoyment from because if this is how the first expansion is, guess what every other expansion is going to be just like this. We're part of that audience that they're ignoring. And
the majority.
And, as much as Destiny 2 had some competition at the time it came out, that's not how it's gonna be for Destiny 3. I mean, they're already launching after Anthem and Division 2, and both of those games seem to be figuring out that balance between a casual and hardcore experience. And Bungie is just sticking to their guns.
Right.
The whole puzzle thing, the whole fact that they're willing to get content behind a puzzle, paid content that players paid for, also content that's on a weekly fucking rotation cycle.
But behind a puzzle that was damn near impossible for the average Destiny gamer to solve.
I would say impossible for the average gamer.
I'm saying the Destiny gamer. As far as I know, there's only been one team to solve it.
Right.
One.
And
I wouldn't consider someone with probably a cryptography
that's
degree.
That's
to be
the
average.
joke. But that's the whole point. Is like you need to know ciphers to figure out this thing. And if you're sitting in a fucking video game chair 8 hours a day playing Destiny, Bungie, do you really think that dude? Do you really think Gathalion and Giggs and T-Rex and Say No to Rage? Do you actually think these guys know anything about cryptography? No. So who the fuck are you making a game for? Which is again, this is great. Any independent studio splitting from a big publisher is great, but the problem is I don't think Bungie has legs to land on. They just don't, because they don't have enough people underneath them to hold them up, because they've alienated their entire audience minus the 10% of streamers and people that play Destiny full time.
Right. And this was a mutual split too. So you
Very
have
much a
to
mutual
imagine from Activision's perspective, they're thinking this is a good move on their end.
Yeah, the money wagon's gone.
Meaning they don't see Bungie and Destiny as a whole having a future.
Sure.
You're not making us money. We're just going to sever ties. So that doesn't spell.
They also directly said that a month ago.
Yeah.
Right.
They directly said Destiny's not performing the way we think it should.
Yeah.
And of
That's
course,
true.
Bungie went out and they're like, it's performing exactly the way we think it should. Well, of course you believe that because you're making the game.
Yep.
Right.
Twin Stick Radio isn't performing the way that Activision would like it to, but it's performing exactly the way I think it should.
So on that end, so moving forward, bullet point wise, it's actually really fun. We'll just skim over this one. It's actually kind of funny that the devs at Bungie, again, it's great that they're splitting, but they literally were throwing a party. Champagne was popping, cheers were ringing throughout the Bungie studios when this announcement happened, which is actually really good.
Yeah,
I think
as long as they're happy.
Yeah,
before they get fired.
I pictured the end of Return of the Jedi in the new movies when they're tearing down Palpatine's statue and Coruscant's cheering. That's how I pictured this. Yeah. Big moves on Activision's part, and on at least Blizzard, Active Blizz, whatever you want to call them. Rob Costa, Mike Morhaime. How do you say that? Morhaime? Mordekainen has been head of Blizzard for a long time. This is one of the original WoW devs. This is one of the original guys that had come up with WoW and has been working at this company for a long time. He's basically stepping down, and they're replacing with another guy who's been with the company for a while, which is nice. This is where it gets scummy. Like, in my opinion, this is extremely scummy. You have this backlash.
Someone check your device. Your device keeps blinking.
It's not showing up in the recording.
That's okay. It's just blinking. This is where Activision gets scummy once again. Activision has seen a stock drop of 10% last week after the announcement. I mean, and unless you're dense to stock, that's of course that's going to happen.
Yeah, the whole WoW Mordekainen guy stepping down.
Sorry. Yeah, we'll go back to that.
Well, I mean, this is related.
Yeah,
though.
no, absolutely.
You're looking at the stock price drop, and you're looking at these issues with monetizing in games and X, Y, and Z and everything else. The issue with Activision isn't the fact that its leaders don't know how to run the company. It's the fact that the company is run by investors.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a company that's run by investors, you can replace your CFO and your president and CEO and whoever else. But if the company is being run by investors who only want money and don't actually care about the products you're making, you're never going to fix that.
Mm-hmm. Which is why Diablo is going to mobile, because mobile is probably the biggest grossing video game market ever. Seems like I'm exaggerating, but it's huge.
No, I mean I don't think that's an exaggeration.
Let's put Diablo on mobile. That wasn't a Blizzard call. I guarantee you that wasn't a Blizzard call. That was an Activision call.
And I also guarantee you it'll be really interesting to see what happens, because I feel like if Bungie can get out, Blizzard's either looking for a way to sort of brute force their way over this company.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or get their own way
maybe
out.
overtake. There's no way they can get out. I think Activision Blizzard was a merger more than a Activision kind of like Umbrella's Blizzard. I very much think that was more of a merger. I could be wrong, but that's how. That's
I don't understand how it works either. But and it is a different relationship than Bungie. But if any company were to split like that, Blizzard would have the best foothold to do so.
Sure.
Because its IP makes up a huge majority of the money that Activision makes year over year.
Sure.
So if I were Blizzard, who is someone that's being directly affected by the decisions that Activision is making, my first thought would be, hey, you guys need to get your shit together, or we're going to figure out a way to get out of this. And we have the money to burn, you don't.
Maybe. But again, I don't, like you said, I don't know how mergers work, but I don't think, and this is just pure speculation because I don't know, but it seems like Blizzard Activision was more of a, hey, let's have sex, instead of Activision's like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and like take you under my wing type thing. You know what I mean?
No, you're right. It is a different,
I think.
But Bungie was never owned by Activision. Their IP was just owned by Activision. But when you're talking about a company that is now merged, and one side of that company owns
I guess they can pull
way
out
more IP than the other side of that company, even though they own them together. But technically, this is a Blizzard IP.
Yeah, because if you take Blizzard out of the equation, Activision owns one IP
Call of
right
Duty.
now. It's
Makes
Call
a
of
lot
Duty.
of money.
Makes a shit ton of money.
But it doesn't make $400 billion a year worth.
You're right. That's very right. Again, so now we're getting scummy Activision again, which isn't surprising in any way, shape, or form. There was I don't think we ever covered it because it's just stupid. But there was a pretty big microtransaction backlash. Activision, of all people, still doing this.
We did cover it in the early days, but the early argument against it was about skins and shit, and the way
I'm talking about the red dot thing.
Well, we had landed on the skins and stuff. Oh, that's not a big deal. Sure. But I think we just sort of forgot about it after that and never touched on the red dot.
Yeah,
stuff.
and so the Activision or Call of Duty put a red dot, just a red dot. That's like, it's not even a sight; it's a dot that is added to your crosshairs. Mm-hmm. And your screen. It's for $1. You can buy a red dot for $1 for your Call of Duty gameplay. And like that, it's not game changing, it's not game breaking, but it's scummy as hell.
Well,
It's extremely scummy.
It goes back to that issue that's continuing to happen with these huge, developers, where they're trying to monetize $60 games as though they were free to play games.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The reality is that had Bobo, Black Ops Blackout, had Bobo launched as a free to play game, this wouldn't be an issue.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah,
but
you're right.
because you had to drop $60 to get access to it.
And even more scummy is a direct quote. Activision's backing up the microtransactions because of quote increased price of developing video games.
Right. And here they are giving.
And here they are, a brand new CFO being a brand fucking new CFO. Being a brand new dude being appointed CFO to Activision, they're giving him $15 million bonus.
That's insane.
Now it's broken down into about $13 million's worth of stock, but then there's another $2 million coming to him. So
right.
But it's still a bonus.
It's $15 million worth of blank.
To be completely honest with you, $13 million in stock is that in 20 years that could turn into $50 million of stock if Activision goes up in stock prices or whatever. So that sometimes stocks are worth more than fucking money. But he's basically getting a $15 million bonus. And Activision's over here quoting that the increased price of video games are why we're doing shitty, scummy shit in our games. No, it's just game. It hasn't hit Blizzard too hard. Other than the Diablo thing.
Guess what? You also don't have to have 3 fucking companies developing IP so that you can launch everything annually.
Very true.
You could make a game, let it sit there for 2 or 3 years, and then launch a sequel like a lot of developers do, and monetize the game that you just launched as much as you can.
Yep.
These are just all simple arguments that are so easy to destroy.
Sure.
Because ultimately, there's this joke that we made in one of the pre-shows where, like, if everyone was honest, there'd be no more wars and people wouldn't die and everything would be great. Activision just came out and they're like, you know what? You know why that red dot site costs $1? Because we want to make money and we know you'll buy it. Mm-hmm. You can't argue with that.
Nope.
You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it.
You would kind of respect it.
At least, you would respect it. Because we can see through your bullshit.
Yep.
Right.
And saying that, and that's the thing, your stock price is going to drop by the way. And also, let's be fair, the majority of people that play Call of Duty year over year probably don't have a problem dropping the dollar for the dot site.
Probably not.
It's probably just a vocal minority that's on Reddit speaking up about this, and that's what created a news story.
Yep.
The average player, my friend at work, is like $1 for a dot site. Fuck yeah, I'm down.
Probably.
That's a steal.
Yeah, probably.
I would spend $50 on that.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, it was the drop apparent? Of course it was apparent. Of course a stock drop after something like Bungie splitting Activision is apparent. So now key operators and head honchos of Activision are being called and basically put under investigation for security fraud, which could lead to insider trading as a sell your stock before that thing drops. That's bad. That's very bad. That's very illegal, and that's very, very bad.
Yeah.
Very bad.
Yeah.
So I don't, and that's the thing is like, that's just, they're just being called forward for an investigation, right? They haven't charged with anything, but it's one of those things. It's like, Activision's scummy. I can totally see their head execs being like, hey, we're splitting from Bungie. It's about to drop, right? Stock's going to drop. It's going to drop. Just sell a little bit before it drops.
I wonder, though, these are smart men, and they know that chances are, because insider trading is super easy to figure out. Anytime that anyone does scummy shit like this, it's figured out. So I wonder if
look at Trump and his cohorts.
I know. I wonder if the cost and paying fines for doing this is less than the benefit of selling your stock.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. There's billions of dollars at stake here, so I have no fucking clue.
I would.
I don't think it would just be a fine. Surely you would go to jail for that.
Yeah,
right?
man. Yeah, insider trading's jail time. Hard. It's
but it would be like nice.
it's
jail.
Death penalty. It's like electric chair.
I don't think it would be like that.
I'm
think
kidding.
Totally
the gallows.
That's a little extreme.
Totally the gallows. 100%.
I think. I also think it depends on to the degree of what you do it. Right. Like robbing a bank is jail time. Robbing a liquor store with no weapon is, or I'm sorry, shoplifting. Let's change it. Shoplifting from a store is not jail time.
Right.
Could be jail time. You
Could
killed
be,
somebody.
depending on the amount that you spell, but
Yeah, but
still, God, fuck.
making millions in insider trading.
Yeah, I think
That's,
that's
that's presidency time.
Yeah, I think insider trading's a little bit different than robbing a store.
No, I get it.
Okay,
I get
okay,
it. I get
okay.
that. I know that those two things aren't the same, but I'm just saying that like
Okay, then it's a lot of different. Then let's be honest here.
The degree to which you do it
Sure,
probably
yeah,
depends on the
yeah.
jail time part.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. That's the saga of Activision for the first week of January, or the first 2 weeks of January.
Fun stuff.
It's very fun stuff. I'm excited. I am. I'll say I'll end my part on a positive note. I'm very excited for Bungie.
No, I'm excited for Bungie.
I'm
too.
extremely excited for Bungie to get away and become an independent studio and possibly follow in the footsteps of somebody like CD Projekt Red, where they're a fully independent studio, but they're making masterpieces of games. We'll see how Cyberpunk is.
Well,
Right.
But,
you
a
know,
AAA indie studio.
it's hard for me to. I am optimistic for the future of Bungie, regardless of whether or not I'm a part of that future. I think that no matter what happens, it's going to be in the best interest of Bungie because they're the ones that are calling the shots now. I'm just curious to see like whether this change will be good for me as a Destiny fan. Because I don't think it will be.
I do think that there won't be any PS4 Destiny exclusives like you guys had before. I don't think that's going to happen anymore.
Taylor. Everett, sorry. I'm reading Taylor. I saw Taylor's name on the email, but I'm laughing at Everett.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So I said, that whole thing.
So I don't think that's going to happen for you guys anymore.
Maybe not.
but
That's fine.
Also,
Right.
not something it's something
Yeah.
I don't care about.
Yeah,
that.
that's fine.
No, but it's just
Yeah, no.
To me, it's
observation.
going back to that conversation real fast. It's never been a thing where it's like, oh, I'm better than you because I bought it. I have a PS4 and you don't. It's more like if it's so important to you to get exclusives, then play the game on the system where it's
exactly.
getting the
Right.
exclusives at.
Yeah,
So the fact
exactly.
that there are no exclusives anymore, fine, fuck,
Right.
go for it, man.
It's just less for the internet to complain about.
Yeah, that's very
so.
true. I think that
I hate this case.
I think I am ecstatic for Bungie, but I am not excited for Destiny because I think Destiny is a place Bungie wants it. I don't think Activision had a whole lot of pull in this last half of the quarter of the year in Forsaken into 2019. I think Activision had pulled out of Destiny for, I would say, earlier last year when it comes to their shot calling and all this other shit. So I think Destiny 2 is very much in the place Bungie wants it to be. And moving forward, I don't know. Moving forward, we've heard reports of Destiny 3 very much focusing on the RPG element instead of the multiplayer element anymore. So I don't know where that lends anything. Hopefully Bungie's learning how to appease a mass audience and not just the 10% of streamers, because BioWare's doing it. BioWare's doing it with Anthem. Guess what? Anthem doesn't have PvP. So guess what? Anthem never has to worry about balancing guns for PvP and PvE. That's a huge issue for Destiny. It's a huge issue for the players, and it's a huge issue for the community. Strip that away, you've just got a game that people accept for what it is and not complain that there's no PvP, right? So I'm excited and ecstatic that Bungie is an independent developer. It's one of the few AAA independent developers out there right now, and I'm ecstatic for them. But I'm just not optimistic about Destiny's future because I'm where Trey was before Forsaken. We've been burned so much for Destiny that I don't care anymore, man.
Well,
I just don't.
Also, I think maybe a little bit less for Chris than the two of us, but I'm sort of at that point with school starting back up and work, and me really feeling super passionate about D&D right now, and me also feeling passionate about other media outside of video games, that like the time that I spend with the game is super valuable. And the thing that I keep coming back to, and this has been a problem since June, it's not like something that just started after Forsaken, it's something that we've struggled with, is that I really love this game, I love this world, I love this IP, and I want to do more things in this game, but at the end of the day, Destiny from day one has never valued my time.
I don't know.
Bungie and Destiny have never valued my time.
Yep.
That's very true.
And so if I'm going to take the time that I'm spending on games and I'm going to put it towards something that does value my time.
Yep.
And that might not be Anthem or Division. It might just be that these kind of games will never value my time, and that's fine, and that's not for me. But you know what? There's not a second that I spend in God of War, or that I spend in Red Dead, or that I spend in Spider-Man that I felt was wasted. There was not a second. And if there was a second that was wasted, it was because I was doing something I enjoyed doing. You know how much fucking time I wasted in Spider-Man just swinging? I did it because it was fun.
Yeah.
And so maybe I could have spent that time more wisely, but at the end of the day, I was having fun, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, you know-
I don't always feel that way with Destiny.
Yeah, you know, we've said it before. It's like I you know, stand by this. It's like if you don't enjoy the game, just don't play it.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, stop complaining about it and just don't play it.
Yeah, no one's forcing you to do anything.
Right,
You're
nobody's
not
forcing you to
obligated.
do anything. The issue though, at least in the situation with Destiny and me, it's like, you know, you had me for 4 years. You had me for so long, and I enjoyed everything you gave me. Then all of a sudden, you take a 180, and it's like, you know, I'm left in the dust. And it's like, you know, I say that thing. It's like, if you don't like it, don't play it. Don't complain about it. But it's like, I was there.
Yeah.
It's not like a brand new IP where it's like, yeah, I'm not really digging this. We're good. You know, I have $40 wasted.
Yeah.
$40 of my money is wasted because I can't do it.
Well, it's
just fucking whatever.
it's the analogy that we've made time and time again that Destiny is a lot like just a committed
Bad
relationship
breakup, yeah.
that just took a bad turn.
Yeah.
You
Well,
were so committed to Destiny that it just, even though it was bad, or not bad, but even though it started kind of fucking you over, it was hard to let go.
Sure.
But look at Star Wars: The Old Republic, right?
Yeah.
Like, even you're a subscriber. You've been a subscriber for a while.
Long ass time.
But the amount of content that you're going through right now, I believe a majority of that is available to non-subscribers.
All of it's available to non-subscribers.
Just the most recent thing,
except for the
right?
most recent. Yes.
So, as a free-to-play player, you don't have to invest a single dollar in this game. You have over 200 hours of good story content for 100% free. Now, there are reasons why you should sub and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, you can sit down and play this game straight through, and it does not ask for a dime. It doesn't ask for 2 expansion passes. It doesn't ask for a new expansion. It doesn't ask for you to spend money on the Eververse. It is just a free game that you can play. So the business model exists, and the fact that you can't get that from a paid experience is irritating. And it's going to keep being an issue until someone finally thinks before they put out a game.
right. And the thing is people are thinking finally, right? Division's a perfect example. $60, $100 base game if you get like the special edition stuff. $60 base game. Everything for the next year is free.
But you know, the funny thing about that, going back to a previous argument, we have been burned so many times by free content.
Sure.
That you and I have even said on this podcast before, it's like, that's a really good idea.
It's a great idea, but can they pull it off?
Can they pull it off?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and
But the fact that it is
the fact that it exists is cool.
right. It's the good not Samaritan. It's the good forward. Here's this. Well, I don't even know what the word I'm thinking of. It's the goodwill. It's goodwill.
It's goodwill
Okay.
to your
Yeah,
players.
gotcha.
Goodwill toward your players. Whether it works out or not, we'll find out in
Yeah.
March and then the rest of the year. But you know,
And if it can work for a free-to-play game,
Yeah.
a game that you get 200 hours of story
Yeah.
content for 100% free, and that's on one character too.
One
It's not even
character.
including like the other character slots that you get for free.
Yep.
If it can work for a free-to-play game, there's no reason why it can't work for a $60 game.
I agree. I would, you know, predictions. I would very much like to see Destiny go to a subscription-based game. I would love it. Because it's a subscription-based game. I don't know if I'd go subscription plus WoW, like subscription plus expansions, but I would go to a subscription-based game, which as of right now, there's about 1 million players playing Destiny. Let's say half of them sub. So that's 500,000 people subbing at Destiny at $15 a month. Somebody do the math real quick, please. Anybody?
What were the numbers again?
500,000 at $15 a month.
That's 7.5 million.
$7.5 million a month.
Didn't you have to use a calculator?
Very good.
Good job. Look at you.
$7.5 million a month, which guess what? I guarantee you they didn't make that on the annual pass.
You know what
Yeah.
I would do?
Guarantee it.
You know what I would do if I were them, which might get some backlash and might not be the most optimal business thing
Stop
to do.
making Destiny and just concentrate on matter.
I would take
Whatever the fuck
as
that is.
much time as possible and work on Destiny 3.
Sure.
And then I would launch the game at $80, and every year I would drop a $60 expansion,
I know I can't.
or every other year or something, and because I don't think a subscription model would ever work for a console game,
I do because it works for ESO.
but it doesn't.
But it does, because PlayStation and Xbox have more players than PC does.
Sure, but how many of those players are subscribers?
I would say the majority of players playing ESO are subscribing.
Just
because of the benefits of subscribing of that game. Majority of players. I'm not saying all.
Man,
I'm saying majority,
I
which could be 50 and above.
I would say that is 100% the case for the PC market. I would almost guarantee that's not the case for the console market, because you're basically asking people who are already having to pay a yearly subscription for just the chance to play that game at all online. Yeah. You're also asking an extra $15 a month.
Sell, for sure.
Until they give you money back every month.
Right.
You know, that's kind of the way ESO's market is. And of course, it's not money back. They're giving you,
it's
they're giving
credit
you $15 worth of store credit every
Right.
month. So you're basically paying for store credit every month.
If only video game publishers like put these numbers out there so that we didn't have to sit
sure,
here
of
and
course.
debate about it.
But my point being is that, you know, I think that in the future,
In a
that's
perfect
how
world,
you see it.
To be fair, like going back to your thing though, like to be fair, a subscription model for Destiny is the best possible thing that could happen to that game. And it's the best thing for the players. It's the best thing for the company. I think that would be the way that I would want it to go if it was up to me. However, I think that putting your money behind big expansions that are worthwhile, and maybe they're not yearly, maybe it's like WoW every 2 years,
Something like that.
but I think, you know, and adding a little bit more of a monetary cost to those expansions, but also making a platform rather than a game, I think that is a model that could succeed on console.
Yeah, I think so.
More realistically,
it's really hard for me to not always point back to SWTOR as the epitome of the MMO model, because as a subscriber, you don't have to pay for expansions. As a subscriber, you get everything that SWTOR has to offer. As a free-to-play or preferred player, you can pay per expansion, and you can pay for things to make games easier. It's just
maybe it's
just
a hybrid of those two ideas.
Yeah, it's just such a perfect thing. You know what I mean? And like if Bungie can get on the subscription thing where they're making $7.5 million a month, that's $7.5 million put into fucking development time and development cost, and they can give us, you know, like you said, every year there's this huge expansion that you could pay $40 to $60 for if you're not subscribing. But if you're subscribing, you get it for free.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just, to me, in my head, my analytical head, it's not fucking rocket science. So why the hell isn't everybody doing this? You know what I mean?
For me, I don't see Bungie staying independent for long, honestly.
Really?
I wouldn't be surprised if Microsoft picked them up.
That $125 million NetEase thing that's a
Bungie would never go to a first party.
You don't think so?
No, there's no reason to, because you're cutting their revenue. Shit, if you know,
almost
if
in a third.
you're significantly more.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
meant to say 3/4.
Yeah, I mean, if we're saying that the Xbox One, by I think last accounts, is somewhere around 45 million at this point, it's probably around 55 million, compared to almost 100 million PlayStations.
Yeah, I mean,
you're losing out on 2/3 of your market.
That's true,
and that's also counting. Maybe not necessarily because of the whole Play Anywhere thing. But you're also cutting out the PC market. Right.
I think your thinking is 100% dead on.
Yeah.
Now,
and it's not you say 3/4, but it's a way bigger percentage.
Sure. Right. Now you've also got to consider too. It's like as an independent publisher and developer, you can. I guess you could crossplay with Activision too, but crossplay can definitely be an option for Destiny,
right?
That would make the game, and I'm just spitballing shit to make the game better, right?
Well,
I don't necessarily want crossplay because mouse and keyboard versus controller is just utterly, that sucks.
But
Guardian from PS4 to PC, that would be great.
Your comparison to CD Projekt Red earlier was actually a really apt comparison because they're a company that uses publishers, but they still retain the intellectual rights to their property. Right. So, WB is mostly what publishes CD Projekt Red in the United States. WB is getting, they put a certain amount of money in, expecting a certain amount of money back. Once they get that amount of money, the deal's solid.
The sale's done.
And then from there, every dollar afterwards is CD Projekt's.
Yep. I think that's just a really good way to do business. At least for an independent developer, it 100% is. And I can totally see Bungie pulling it off because I think there's a lot of talented people there. I just don't I just don't think they've steered the car in the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
They have turned that boat, and those sails are faced fucking port side, and they're going way too far to the left.
Well,
and they need to try to they have to course correct. But I really like that boat analogy, because once you start steering a boat, course correcting takes a long fucking time, depending on the size of the boat. Bungie's a big ass boat. 700 people, you said? It's a big ass. It's a big ass fucking boat. So it's going to take a long fucking time to actually course correct back to where I think they should go, not necessarily where they think. They may be going in the direction they want to go and just leaving you and me in the dust. But it's going to take a really fucking long time for them to course correct back where I think Bungie can be in a really healthy place.
Well, I mean, you're also, as an independent developer and publishing your own games, one of the things that you also have to look at Bungie, and especially when you start looking at that NetEase investment, is that they're not a company that's going to be driven by one IP.
Yeah.
However long it takes for that next IP to come out,
Matter or whatever the hell it is.
yeah. But hopefully the direction that they go with these different IPs that they're publishing is they're hitting a different point of the market.
I agree.
So that their ship is being kept afloat
I
by
agree.
more than just Destiny.
If they want to take Destiny toward that streamer market, and they want to bring Matter to guys like us, the majority of video game players, I think it's a great idea.
And the simple reality is that as much as they could stick to their guns with Destiny, I guarantee you, even if they don't change the way that they look at players, Destiny 3, we're going to be there day one.
Sure.
And a lot of people are going to be there day one to see what an independent Bungie can do. And that's all they need. All they need are for people to buy Destiny for them to start sending other IP up.
It's true. It's very, very true.
And we'll all be there. They could say beforehand, hey, guys, you know how y'all really like Forsaken and Black Armory and this and that? This is an entire experience curated for you. I will still be there on day one, and I'll bitch about it for the next year.
I might not be there. But if they go the whole rumor route where it's like we're going to concentrate on RPG mechanics more so than the shooter mechanics of Destiny, yeah, I mean, you got me, man. You've got me by the balls hard.
I think new Destiny anything, I think you'll be
Sure,
sold.
yeah. And that's the thing is, like, as much as you're in love with the world more than I am, I'm less invested in the world of Destiny than especially you and Everett. So the story, it never really kept me going as much as it did you two. I just really love the gameplay of Destiny. But now I just, I can't do it. I can't play it. So it's like, yeah, well, there you go. If Destiny 3 is the same thing, the story is not keeping me invested. So it's like, hey, I got Division. I'm walking around as an agent in Washington.
Man,
we're good.
On the bright side, though, at least Whitney kind of fell off before Forsaken.
Sure, yeah.
Because could you imagine if you had dropped
spending
$80
on this shit? Oh my god.
Well, I mean,
twice the complaints.
but it would technically be $160.
I might have
$240 expansions and then
true.
$240
Yeah,
expansion passes.
I might have murdered Toulouse. Just because he'd be the closest thing.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, guys?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, if you guys like what we do, please rate, review, subscribe to us on all of your favorite podcasting platforms, including iTunes, Google Play Store, and Spotify. You can also subscribe to the show on YouTube. Just search Twin Stick Radio. We post there every single week. Sometimes people are in the comments, and it's interesting to see what they have to say. You can follow all of us on Twitter as well. On YouTube.
Oh.
Not often, but occasionally you'll go through an old video, and it's like, oh, someone commented on this.
Did you comment back?
Justin does usually.
Oh, good job, Justin.
Yeah, social media coordinator.
Way to be there, buddy.
You guys can follow all of us as well. I am at Darth Trey. Chris is at Short Change Hero with a 3 instead of the E in Hero. And Justin is at Justin T. Lopez. Show is produced and edited by Everett Jordan. Give him a follow on Twitter at the 56th or on Instagram.
Are you on Instagram yet?
I don't know.
Don't worry about it.
Just follow him with your
there.
thoughts.
He just hasn't posted anything.
Follow him with your
And
thoughts.
his Instagram is Galley and the Haggis Trotters.
Ew. And the show's theme song is by Connor Manning. Give him a follow on Twitter at Connor13, one inning Connor, 13 spelled out, and hire him to do the theme song for your upcoming podcast by going to downstreamstudios.com. Use offer code BUTTS and receive nothing. Just do it.
Just a picture of a butt.
I wonder if we can convince Connor to have an offer code called BUTTS for Twin Stick Radio.
We'd
on
have to
his
try to
website.
get him to figure out how to make put an offer code in his website and make it work.
If Audible can do it, anyone can.
Is what's the book thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Audible has like a shit ton of
Products.
money.
Don't don't justify this. Just go with the joke.
Just go to Downstream Studios /butts.
Yeah.
And
Click the microphone in the
click
top
the-
corner and type in butts for 10% off your next theme song.
That's butts. 3 T's, 2 S's,
And a Z.
lowercase
And a
Z.
Z, yeah.
And a lowercase z. So you have some typing in it. It's like, wait, are all the letters uppercase besides the Z?
The
Or-
U also needs a 2 dots above it.
Yeah.
An umlaut.
Yeah, an umlaut. There you go.
That's perfect because umlaut
B-
sounds like it starts
B
with a U.
umlaut TTT SZ.
But it's not because you pronounce it differently. It's just because we think that it looks like a cool smiley face.
We're hip to the leet.
Ew. Ew.
I watched Solo for the first time the other day.
Solo. What's Solo? Oh, the Star Wars
Star
movie.
Wars movie.
What's Solo?
I liked it. I actually really liked it.
It's not a bad movie.
Yeah,
It's just-
outside of it was Star Wars. It was awesome. There was a lot of really cool references, like when Bennett gave Han the blaster. It's like, oh, there's his blaster. That's really cool.
When he chooses his last name.
Yeah, that was a little weird. But no, the
little on the nose.
Yeah, the little it was the little nods to the Star Wars universe that I really enjoyed. I also just really like them. I like the heist feel. I like the
Yeah, that was cool. The train, the whole train.
I like
That
the
train was
train
cool.
sequence was cool.
I love Lando. I think Donald Glover just
Donald
put
Glover's
a whole new spin on who Lando Calrissian is.
He's great.
That actually made me not like Billy D. Williams as Lando Calrissian.
I don't like Billy D. Williams.
I'm not saying I'm sorry. I don't want to say I don't like
No,
Billy D. Williams.
I'm just not a huge fan of Billy D. Williams.
Oh, okay, sure, that's
He
fine.
kind of strikes me as someone who thinks he's a bigger deal than he is in
Sure,
Star
yeah.
Wars, and he's like always constantly like trying to butt in. And it's like, this isn't your business. Go away.
But I really fucking liked Lando Calrissian in this movie.
Yeah.
I don't like the guy who played Han. I did not like it at all.
Yeah.
I don't think he was.
He's not Harrison Ford.
Number one, he didn't look anywhere remotely close. It's like they didn't even try to get somebody to look like Harrison Ford.
Doesn't the whole timeline thing kind of like throw
Yes,
you off?
bothered the shit out of me.
It's like this guy's supposed to be like 21, but he's also supposed to be like 30. I don't know.
Right, exactly. And so there's that. There's
Space.
the. Have you seen Solo? Or do you care about spoilers? Do you care about spoilers? Do you care about spoilers though?
I'm gonna watch it, so yeah.
Cover your ear holes.
It's annoying when we can't talk about shit because somebody cares about spoilers of a fucking 2-year-old movie.
1 year.
1 year, whatever.
Why go? What's the point of watching if you know what happens?
Well, then don't watch it because I want to talk about it. It's been a year. It's been a year.
This is why I don't know what things about Star Wars. The fan base.
The fan base. Well, I mean, like that's kind of why I stopped caring about Harry Potter. That's a fair
Sure.
argument.
Fine. You know what? The secret fucking character that shows up in the fucking hollow call.
Spoiled for me.
Okay.
Well, why are you even going to watch the movie
Oh
if
my
it's spoiled
God.
for you?
Well, because I don't know what the spoiler is.
Wait, what?
What?
I don't know what you're going to spoil until you say
Oh.
it.
Oh, I
That is
understand.
literally the only point of that
Sure.
movie you could spoil.
I understand. But
I
I.
haven't seen the movie, so I don't know.
But I understand.
I'm just
I
saying.
I understand
the
where
rest of that movie is just cookie cutter
the
fucking
I-
Star
So
Wars.
the fact that you know that there is now no spoiler, is that a spoiler in itself?
I understand wherever it's coming
I am
from.
burning all my Star Wars DVDs.
I understand wherever it's coming from.
Why are you still using DVDs in 2019? Blu-ray is the optimal experience.
I understand wherever it's
HDR.
coming from. Now, my biggest problem with this,
Tell us.
I really like that they kind of left it open to expound on the Darth Maul angle. However, comma, as a Star Wars fan, I think most fans would know Clone Wars, Rebels, and Rebellion. Is that the new one? Is that what it's called? The new
Resistance.
cartoon? Resistance. All canon. Because it's produced by Disney, other than Clone Wars. Produced by Disney, on Disney,
Clone Wars is canon.
Yeah, I understand.
Oh,
that,
I see.
but I'm
Oh,
just
I
saying,
see. But
that wasn't
I-
produced yet.
sorry.
But all that is canon.
Right.
At the end of at the end of Rebels, we find out that Darth Maul is looking for a super weapon on the outer edges of the galaxy, and he goes off and he does that. Now, the timeline for Solo, he's supposed to be like 21-ish, something, I guess they don't really say an age for him, but like it would make sense because of, at the end of Solo, he's on his way to Tatooine to do the Jabba job that gets him in trouble, where he's basically becomes the Han of New Hope. So I guess he's 21 to 25, somewhere in there. Sure, maybe. But that would overlap with Rebels. And Darth Maul's over here. But now he's the head of a crime syndicate.
But at the end of Rebels, he's dead. He goes to confront Obi-Wan on Tatooine and he dies.
I'm sorry, you're 100% right. Yeah. But he's looking for a super weapon.
When they first
You're right, yes. You're 100% right. He is dead. I apologize for that.
No, I wasn't trying to
No, but you're 100% right.
It makes your case more concrete.
Yeah, and so, but now he's here, which is 100%, Han Solo is 100% overlapping Rebels at some point in time, because it's not clear. But Darth Maul, in no way, shape, or form in Rebels, if I'm remembering correctly, did he ever take over some crime syndicate and become the leader of a crime syndicate on fucking, I guess, Corellia? Where's this crime syndicate at?
It doesn't say.
Yeah, he's just a leader of a crime syndicate all of a sudden?
Well,
what?
And all that, there's a way that you can correct that timeline, right? Because you can just say this takes place before Rebels, and Han's been doing Jabba jobs for years before things go south.
Sure,
right?
Maybe.
But the fact that it's not clear,
right,
is an issue. As a Star Wars fan, it's an issue.
It's a huge issue
because the timeline has always been sacred. There's a reason why the first 3 pages of any expanded universe Star Wars book is the timeline.
Yep.
And it's constantly growing and it constantly makes sense. And every writer respects that timeline.
Yep.
If you can't figure it out, Kathleen Kennedy, then you shouldn't be making so much Star Wars shit.
I agree. This is the only thing that I would fault the producers of Kathleen Kennedy. I'm not going to create YouTube videos where we're asking for her to die.
No, we're just going to create a podcast.
Yeah,
where we criticize her, not ask her to die.
Yeah,
Don't
but my
Kennedy.
point is, this is really the only thing that I guess under her lead has really been fucked up. I think I still stand by mine and your statement that The Last Jedi is 100% the best Star Wars movie that's ever been made, possibly the best movie that's ever been made. I understand that Star Wars, I don't call them fans because they can't be. If you call yourself a Star Wars fan, there's no reason in the world why you did not like Last Jedi.
Star Wars enjoyers.
Star Wars enjoyers are just creating YouTube videos asking for Kathleen Kennedy's death, blah, 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 whatever. But it bothers me as somebody who has taken that timeline so sacred, especially in the expanded universe, especially when you have 20, 30, 50, 100 authors over the course of 40 years respecting a timeline, and you get rid of it, which is okay. I'm okay. I'm okay with that.
I've gotten over it.
But now you've got a timeline that's it's getting convoluted and it's annoying as fuck.
And if you don't jump on that you ruin a franchise.
Yeah.
Because you and I can sit here and have this debate about 2 Star Wars books and when it takes place. There is an answer to that.
100%.
If you and I were diametrically opposed on this issue of when Solo takes place, there is no way to rectify that argument. Because even a quick Google search doesn't clear it up.
Yep.
So then that's I don't know. That's just
sucks.
It's for a lot of things it doesn't matter, but for Star Wars, chronology is important.
I agree.
Because what the chronology is, and this is important for any intellectual property, and this is why every intellectual property should take canon seriously, because a chronology is a family tree.
Yeah.
When you're looking at the chronology of Star Wars, when you're looking at the timeline for Star Wars, you're not looking at events, you're looking at the Skywalker and related family trees and how that extends throughout history. And by completely ignoring that, you're ignoring one of the central themes in Star Wars, which is last name. Mm-hmm. Last name is a theme in Star Wars. There's a reason why the books will use the Organa last name, why there's an Organa in fucking Star Wars The Old Republic, a game that doesn't even take place on the timeline. Because that's how important it is. Because you want to establish that this is something that has existed for millennia and it's important.
Yep. Anyway,
Star Wars.
All that to say, I really, really enjoyed Solo. I thought it was a lot of fun. I just thought it was great. And
it's fun.
It was great. I thought it was awesome. I actually liked it a little bit better than I liked Rogue One, to be honest with you.
Ooh, that's a dangerous statement
to
make.
Little bit better. Not a lot bit better. A little bit better.
I have a hard time.
And the only reason I say that is because I had more fun watching it. Because Rogue One's fucking amazing. But what Rogue One didn't do well were the nods to those Star Wars things. And those little nods in the Marvel movies, in the Star Wars movies, I love those things.
I thought Solo's a fine movie. I think it gets a bad rap. It doesn't deserve a bad rap. I think it's a solid 7, or maybe an 8 on a good day. but I think that it almost gets bogged down by how often it's like, hey, we know the other Star Wars movies exist. And I thought that when Rogue One had those moments where it gave a nod, it was so much more impactful. And I also thought in an era of Disney Star Wars where they were so obsessed with the original trilogy, to sort of split off and take the risk of telling a story that's not related in a super direct way. I just thought it was risky, and it paid off. Also, that scene, you know, you're talking about nods and stuff. First of all, the scene with Darth Vader on Mustafar, which is a direct reference to fucking Revenge of the Sith, and one of the first acknowledgments of the prequels from Disney Lucasfilm. Then that last scene with Darth Vader, you know, going after the Taint of Four and just annihilating rebels. That moment is so much more valuable because you didn't expect it.
Yeah.
Whereas like every moment in Solo where they reference the films, I was like, after the first time you do it, I'm expecting you to do it every 20 minutes. And you do it every 20 minutes.
But the thing is I came into Solo
with low expectations.
Super low expectations and expecting to have fun. Does that make sense? I didn't go into Solo.
So it met and exceeded your expectations.
Exactly.
Well, it's two different tones.
Right.
And they made it very clear.
It's very, very, very clear that I'm going into this Star Wars movie, which I still don't consider Rogue One or Solo like a Star Wars movie. They're just
a Star Wars story.
They're movies in the Star Wars universe, but they're not Star Wars movies. That makes sense in my head. It may not make sense to anybody else.
We have this argument every other week.
I understand. But I went into Solo knowing what I was expecting and knowing that I was supposed to sit down on my ass and laugh and have fun. I would never go into Episode 9 expecting that. I go into Episode 9 expecting a, you know, somewhat emotional experience because of what Star Wars means to me. So I never went into Rogue One or Solo expecting that feeling. But, you know, Rogue One, every scene with Vader in Rogue One was just like, oh my God, this is fucking amazing. But in Solo, I was having so much fun watching it in the first place because I loved the idea of Sabacc. I love the idea that Sabacc is now finally canon again, even though it's a little weird how they play it. I'm not 100% sure if it's a poker game or if it's like Knights of the Old Republic Sabacc. I don't know. But
I think it's poker.
But the fact that Sabacc exists is really fucking cool to me. You know, the fact that Lando cheated the first time and Han figured it out the second time, and that's how he won the Falcon. I love it. I love it all. Because all those things were already existing canon in the Star Wars movies, and I got to see them.
How do you feel about they do this thing, and it's really annoying to me. They make the Falcon sentient, but they don't acknowledge that they just did that.
Sure. It's a little weird.
It's kind of silly.
It's a little weird and annoying, but
it's kind of silly when you're like, we are making this ship sentient, but we are just not going to talk about it.
But I don't think they ever said they make it sentient. They just upload.
They upload the droid's brain to the ship.
They upload Leet's. Yes, they integrate her into the ship, but I don't think they were insinuating that they were making the ship sentient.
Except
they were just uploading.
Except like the post-marketing material for it is very much like this droid exists in the ship.
Oh,
now.
maybe sure, maybe, but I don't know if I don't know. I see where you're coming from, but I don't think I consider the ship sentient.
None of that is to say that like if the ship has a brain and it's sitting there thinking and it's this character, which one of the best droids ever created.
Yeah, I agree.
They have been nailing it in these Star Wars stories with the droids.
The droid revolution. I found my calling. Like that's a good droid. It's good stuff.
It was a good droid.
Yeah.
Good droid. But the fact that they do
almost
that,
R2D2 good.
The fact that they do that and don't give definitive answers is what's annoying about it.
And
the fact that you have to learn about that through third-party sources.
But again, I go into this thing expecting to have fun, not expecting a lot out of it. Like if they were to pull that shit off in Episode 9, I'd be annoyed. I'd be annoyed as shit. If they would do anything like that in an actual numbered Star Wars movie, I'd be beyond annoyed. But since it's Solo, I don't necessarily care too much. But I get where you're coming from.
Everyone, bye.
Bye.